On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're going to be talking about the new Animal Crossing Summer Update number 1, how we feel about E3 being replaced by a bunch of spread out announcements, and without any big news from Nintendo lately, what does the company have in store for us for the rest of 2020 and beyond? Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week, I'm joined by Sofia Hariz.
Hello.
And Jessica Lynn Verdi. That
Hi.
person, for those of you who are listening, Jessica was pointing at themselves. So
that's
there
right.
you go.
That's right. I forget about the companion podcast version.
Yeah, that is a leftover effect from Kyle Bossman, always pointing out that type of stuff. That imaginary person.
It's important because those people are just as valuable, but I'm so vain that I'm like looking at myself. That's why Zoom has been really hard for me. Like I look at myself the whole time being so pretty, and I do visual jokes, obviously. So I forget about the podcasters. So I apologize.
I'm so terrible. I just shaved yesterday for the first time in forever. Because, the whole guy beard thing, it's like, hey, it's cool to have a beard during the pandemic and have all this facial hair because it shows you're roughing it out. And I'm like, this looks stupid. I hate this. So I was like, no.
Yeah, no, I went without washing my hair for weeks. And I was like, there came a point where I just looked in the mirror and I was like, no, it's gone too far. It was fun the first week of being like, I don't care. No makeup. Just know my hair is greasy as hell. It's all fine. And then I was like, nah, it's time to look nice for no one. I guess.
I heard, or I've read a couple articles that there is a world where you can never wash your hair again. And it's a good thing. Like your hair is supposed to naturally clean itself. But the time it takes to get to that point is grimy.
Oh God, it grimy, and I got breakouts.
Oh.
My skin had been clear all this time, and I was like, "This isn't worth it."
No,
it's nice to be lazy and not care, and I'm so grateful. My entire closet is just oversized gaming shirts and band T-shirts, and it's just okay, I'm just gonna be cozy all day. But yeah, no,
there's something to be said though for the fact that this is such a unique time for however long it lasts. If we're lucky, this will never happen again. I don't know if you guys seen the anyway, I'm sure we have a bunch of stuff to talk about, but Netflix pandemic explained, and people knew we were susceptible to a nationwide, worldwide pandemic, and we were not prepared. And just because we tackle this one doesn't mean we're going to wait another 6 years until the next coronavirus shows up. That's just not how the world works. So hopefully this doesn't happen to the same extent, but there is some uniqueness about this. You can not wash your hair for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Just stay inside and wear a mask. For real. Please, I urge you. I beg you. Just, That's our public service announcement. Wear a mask. All right, let's go.
It's very sound advice. You should take it seriously, please. And I'm not laughing at that. In terms of game news,
yes,
since we want to talk maybe about some Nintendo stuff, has been a little bit dry lately, I'll be honest. There hasn't been a lot of big Nintendo news. There is expectations, always rumors out there about what Nintendo's going to be doing. There's always a direct coming every week. It's how it works in this community. But we did get an update recently to one of their games. Animal Crossing New Horizons had another seasonal update, the Summer Update Part 1, or the Summer Update 1. Came out, and it brought with it a new gameplay mechanic. We can go out into the ocean in our swimsuits. You gotta have the swimsuit on first. That's the first process of doing this is you go get your suit. You either buy it for Nook Miles or you go to the Twin shop. You can get it away. They sent you a nice set of pair of goggles in the mail that you can put on as well, and you can go off into the ocean and snorkel and go diving and swim out there. I was very curious before I turn it over to you two, how you felt about it. I was very curious how they were going to implement the boundary, where's the invisible wall, and then seeing how they did it, I was like, oh, there's just a giant net around the island. Okay, sure,
I love it.
Interesting. But yeah, how are you enjoying this new update so far?
Well, I think just really quick, that's really interesting that that whole net was there because it's still like gives vibes of like these people are stuck on this island and not allowed to go like, anywhere. It's like, no, bitch, you think
it's like Tom Nook evil shenanigans.
Cornered. It's really scary a little bit.
Yeah, there's like a sense of dread as I approach it. I was like, wait, what? Okay, this doesn't make me feel good, but okay. This makes me want to swim back now, but sure, this is the way they're handling it. Interesting.
And I think
wonder if
that
there'll be a little
exists on all beaches. Like, doesn't California have like you can't see that they're nets, but you know, when you look out on the surf, if you're in Zuma or Malibu, there are buoy, whatever white floaty things, and that is holding a net. So those things are they exist in our world. You just don't see them so clearly because we don't have clear blue water.
Are those?
And I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask the purpose of those. Are they just to keep out like sharks or like certain species of like underwater aquatic life from getting too close to the shore? Or
I certainly don't want to make an assumption because I was told that it was to keep out sharks, but that was probably to make me more comfortable in the water.
Okay.
But they do, yeah. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they aren't nets. This is all shit that my dad could have told me just to make me feel more comfy. So now I'm gonna do this research while you share your opinion.
Sure.
I mean, I like the fact that there are nets because a thing that I don't like about games is when you just hit an invisible wall and it's just like, I can see it. It's right there. Like I way more comfortable with having a visible net. And yeah, as in a whole run, swimming changed so much because I've caught most fish. I haven't time traveled. I've put that out. I've not time traveled. I'm still lacking stuff. But like for the month, I'm a grinder. Once the update comes out, full force. But I still have fun diving. I still have fun finding pearls. And I don't know, it's been really fun. I thought when June came with the wedding update, it was kind of like, this is very cute. It's taking a little while to, get all the items. Once I cracked like how to do it quick, which is just like spam items in the room and take whatever picture, I was like, okay, it's easier now. But I was still kind of like, having played as much as I have, as June progressed, I'm like, oh, am I starting to just have nothing to do? Like, will there be anything for me to do in July? Like, please give me something new. And I really do think that swimming made it a lot better because it's added to like my daily routine, right? Like I'm beyond the daily routine of like getting fruit and chopping wood. Like I'm past that now, but now it's like, I'm going to swim for pearls and swim for sea creatures.
I have a question though. Isn't the swimming slow? I felt like the swimming is just a little slow. Like, that's my opinion.
I mean, yes and no. I think if it made it faster, it would kind of not
take away the
look
charm.
Good. Yeah, well, not just charm, but like compared to how fast you run, it would be weird if you were like a really good swimmer and then just like a jogger. You know what I mean?
But I want to swim about as fast as I can run. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's what I was. There was something charming. There is something charming about like she is hoofing it. Like she's swimming. It's very cute. But yeah. It got tedious, I guess I would say.
Yeah, that's the fair point. I do think also when I usually jump in when I see the bubbles. I don't just go for a swim into the beyond.
Fair.
But also, yeah, a thing that I've been thinking about is I wish there was swimming music. I wish there was like a theme when you jumped in where it'd be like, ooh, like I know people hate them. I love underwater themes for underwater levels. Like even if those levels are always the worst in games, the music is so good and just delightful and like just little bells and squibbles. Like I wish that was a thing that happened. But I mean, yeah, it's been fun. It's been I while it was annoying, I could appreciate the fact that Pascal doesn't arrive necessarily with every first scallop you catch. Like there was a day where I had to find 3 in order for him to pop up. And while it was annoying, I was also like, it's nice that it's not like I just have to do that and then I'm done. Like just like very predictable. He's gonna come, no worries. And so it has given me more gameplay, which is, what you want at this point. And not in just the shape of furniture, even though furniture is always nice. Do wish that the mermaid furniture was customizable, not gonna lie. It's kind of sad that they're just pearly, but like, yeah, it was nice to have something new besides, just a tournament and then just, If Pascal had just had like outfits and stuff, I'd be kind of bummed because it's like, yeah, like the wedding stuff. Couldn't there have been something? Could we have made a ceremony or like, actually done things? But at least it's free furniture. Furniture is cool. But I'm glad that Pascal kind of brought with it like, okay, you have to, move around and do stuff, I guess.
I will say I do agree with you to an extent, Jess, about the swimming. It's a video game. I think convenience trumps realism in a game like this, which is clearly not trying to be reality.
No.
It's escapism, and I do think increasing the swim speed just a little bit on the surface level would be nice. There were points I felt a little bit slow. I get when you dive under, they need it to be slower. So there's like that little moment of tension. Will I actually get the shadow? Will I run out of breath and it will force me back up real quick? And it's like, that's a nice little touch there. But just swimming above water, it's like either you hold A, you get a tap A. It's again, there's so many quality of life updates I'd like to see in this game. That would be one of them I'd like to maybe see them implement in the future for sure.
Well, and you think about like the gamer in us that's trained, right? When you're exactly right. Are you tapping A the whole time? And it's very rare you just hold the button when you're swimming, which was weird, right? Like you're and then you're going the same speed, which I feel like you should be accelerating if you're holding the button. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just so silly. But then you talk about how like something I love talking about is like if you didn't play games your whole life and now you're jumping into something like Animal Crossing, this doesn't matter to you,
Yeah.
And there are a lot more people who've never played video games really that are playing this game and aren't challenged by the fact that they didn't get trained in the same way we did,
That's
so I have the answer. Shark net. It is a shark net.
Okay.
A shark net is I don't know if it's what it is in Animal Crossing because it can't be because you can still catch sharks. The shark net is a submerged net placed around beaches to reduce shark attacks on swimmers.
Thank you.
So I was right.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
No correction next week. Actually,
But I do love that we all tested the boundaries first. Like that was like the first thing you guys just like, how far can I go?
Yeah.
How far am I going to go?
That was the first thing. And it was kind of horrifying. I was scared for half a second. I'm like, oh my God. Because it's kind of like, oh, I have to swim all the way back. What if something happens?
So
I don't know. I had a weird thing.
I'm going to say an unpopular opinion, but people who watch my streams know I don't really love Animal Crossing. I know. I don't hate it. I think it's super charming. I actually like it more than I thought. I literally built my island. I know, girl, I can't help it. I built my island, never went back, and then when I came back, I had to like kill cockroaches. It had been that long. My hair was a mess. I had to kill cockroaches. But then I was like in because like the joy is like bringing your friends in. But I was so focused on building my world in Minecraft that I don't want to spend time doing anything else.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, actually. Investment in other games and trying to get heavily invested in another game, it's basically a time sink.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to do. I definitely empathize with that as someone who like plays get another game or two way more than this. This did take up a lot of my time at first, but I fell off the story that's been told time and time again with this game is the whole turnip exchange. Once I achieved my goal so quickly through that after a few weeks and got enough bells, I had everything I thought I needed. And I was just like, I don't really want to spend more time in this game because I have other games I want to play and I feel more invested in those worlds than this. And so I do feel a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, and I think that like I'm a completionist, so if I really got all in, I would want all the sets and stuff, which actually was how Pocket Camp got me. I was in on Pocket Camp for a long time because you knew what sets you were building and what things you could get or working towards. And this one, it's kind of like you don't know what the sets are. You don't know what you're missing until you've gotten everything, which is okay because I think it would create even more anxiety and even more trades, But you're right. Yeah. Like that's why it's a good game for one reason and a challenge in the same reason. You go on, you do your work, and you get off. Or if you have your friends, they come to your island, they sell their turnips. That's cool. So that is nice. You can only spend an hour and you did it and you can go do other things. But sometimes that hour is precious towards your other games, Yeah,
it's funny because it's a game where on the one hand, sometimes I wish there was more things to like physically do, like especially when people come over to my island or vice versa. Like, I wish there was something we could do other than like, we've done fish tournaments. That was really fun. Or like the bug tournament, to be together with people and like work together. But I wish there was still things that we did together. But at the same time too, it's like, I do like the fact that it is a game that it can be a really, it can take up a lot of your time, but it can also, you can also choose to just have it be like there have been days where it's just like a 10-minute thing in my morning.
Totally.
Where I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna check the shops, and then I'm gonna find my, bottle on the beach, and then maybe some stars, and talk to my neighbors, and then that's then. And I kind of like that. And it's funny for me because this is my first Animal Crossing ever, and I thought I would hate it. So I was so screwed the first few weeks. I got 3 toilets. That was the only furniture I got. It was a disaster. I had a house with 3 toilets and like a camel bed. I was like, I hate this game. It was bad. It was so bad. And I was just did not care about design. I was just like, screw everything. But then it's like, I got this awesome group of people, and we came together and we're trading and we're traveling to each other. That changed everything. Because now it's like, oh, my friend is in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm going to go there and catch stuff I could never catch here. That like opens up a new thing again. And I mean, I hope that they continue to do like they did now, which is release these kind of random updates that, you can't time travel to. Otherwise, it will be a very, you will complete it fairly quick. And I mean, it's like, I'm going to admit, like, I've traded with people on Qeustion for items that like I could never get. Like, I have like stuff.
You're doing the black market shit, girl.
Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah. I don't.
You don't time travel, but you're black marketing. So.
I am in the certain items section where it's like that Zodiac thing looks pretty cool. I don't care about the art, so let's do a thing together. And although most of my trades have been for things that are in the game right now. But it is weird though, like you said, it's like I know a lot of the sets because I look them up. Like I go and I see all the different colors and stuff like that. For me, I feel like that was, yeah. So I use like I don't remember the name of it. It's like a wish list thing where you can make like a wish list, and then Qeustion for like people selling. I use that sometimes just to look and be like, oh, I didn't know the item was a thing. I want to see what that is about.
Yeah.
But it is a weird thing that you do that. And I do feel like a lot of the time my shop has stuff that I've seen like 100 times. I'm just like, why is this here again in the same color? But yeah, it's a game I didn't think I would spend as much time as I have. I have definitely clocked past 500 hours at this point. But I have done like, I think it's the inner Sims builder in me because I have refurbished my island 100 times.
Have you?
I've built something and I'm like, tear it to the ground, build it up again. I have completely I'm kind of playing it like a Sims player. Okay. Where it's like, I'm just gonna, I've moved my houses, all the houses I think I've moved, several places. I'm never satisfied. I'm just like, and now I'm like starting to be, but I'm still like, this doesn't fit here. I'm gonna put this here. Wow. And so I think that's like, yeah, the difference in players, which I think is good about this game, is that you can play it in different ways, right? Whereas like some people, it's a nice daily routine, it's a coffee break and trying to forget this horrible situation our world is in, which has been, at least for me personally, very lovely to just forget about everything and just completely log off and just sit in my own little comfortable world. But also, yeah, you could sit like me also for like 6 hours a day and just hammering through.
Oh, girl.
And that's okay too.
Well, Damiani, I'm sure you've talked about it on this show before. I know people that were excited for this game before the pandemic, but we have to give the credit to the pandemic for actually just making this game have better longevity. People actually playing it. We definitely in that escapism way, as you mentioned.
Oh yeah, this is it definitely benefited from this timing. I mean, it definitely is making people more interested in this game. As you said, the longevity of it, it's definitely helping with that. Even in terms of the way Nintendo's like sales for this game, I mean, it's the best-selling entry. It's like another big title for Nintendo, bringing a lot of money. But a lot of it's also come from digital sales. Another byproduct of the pandemic is that people can't go buy physical copies anymore.
Right.
So much of their business is done online, and they even talked about in recent investor meeting. But yes, this it was like kind of like the perfect storm for this game, for this type of game specifically, I feel. And yeah, it's interesting to hear you, Sofia. You talk about like the tearing down and building up stuff, because I started to get into, I want to have this optimal layout for where my houses are. Like I want to push like all the houses into this direction and then like put like the commercial stuff over here. I got to that point, and then that's where I kind of lost interest, because I haven't played this game until this update came out. I hadn't played this for about over a month. And that's how long I missed the whole wedding update, didn't get into any of that. The last thing was like the Earth Day stuff was the last thing I remember really participating in. And I do think that this game is good, as you described, play it at your own pace. I definitely felt like I could play it for a few minutes here, or I could play it over like an hour or two on this day, and that's fine. But this game definitely, I think, has a unique way of pushing the fear of missing out aspect of it, with the whole as Jess was saying about like you take too long, and I haven't played for so long, and now like my hair and stuff's all messed up. I got cockroaches. Like that's what happened to me when I started up. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna shame me for like not having played for so long. And like there's the realistic aspect, like, well, your residents, they like dialogue with you. It's like, I haven't seen you for a month. What's wrong? It's like,
your friendship.
Are you gonna leave? Are you gonna leave me? Like, what is this? Stop. So they definitely guilt you.
Yeah, the friendship level that's what I'm most afraid of, honestly. Like, I don't want my friendship levels to go down with my villagers. I have like 5 framed photos, and I need all of them. I need to get to the top. And so I'm very invested. And Joey is my favorite character of all time, and I love him more than a lot of things in life. And like, it just brings me so much joy to see his cute little duck face every morning. It's like so silly, but it's also like I've talked to friends about this before, where it's like, yes, there are games that are coming out this year that I'm looking forward to, and that, will probably graphically be better, maybe story-wise. But for me, like, this is my game of the year, because it not only changed the world in a very different way. Like, we have talk shows in Animal Crossing. Like, there are people who never played it who are playing it, right? And it's also just, I think it saved a lot of people from feeling terrible, myself included. Like, it was a nice escape, where it wasn't an escape to like, I'm going to play a first-person shooter. And you're still like, or like if you're playing with friends on voice channel, it's still going to come up, right? This was a literal, like, there's nobody here. It's just you catching bugs and, making PETA upset with you, which they were. Did you read the article PETA made about this game?
I actually did look over like their way to play this game responsibly. Yeah, I read over that.
Oh God, that's gold. I love it. That's also a reason I love this game. PETA got mad at little kids for catching bugs.
I mean, there is a part of me as a vegetarian going, I don't know that I want to catch fish, because fish suffer more than anything. Like, they just, hey, you know what? You're not going to breathe for an hour, and that's how you're going to die. Like,
but I mean, they're gonna go to like Blathers, or you can think of the story of where they're selling them. Nobody's eating fish. I mean, technically, everyone's just eating fruit.
But I guess the fish go in aquariums, right? So that's fair. Yeah,
I mean, I do too. When I catch sharks, I release them because I love sharks.
But if you're an entomologist,
I just did the first one.
You gotta catch things, right? Like if the study of bugs, you gotta do it.
Yeah. I never thought, like, when I was reading, I was like, this game doesn't like promote like overfishing or any like the dangers of like going to that extreme that we consume living beings as like a source of food. And they do have like more responsible ways of like we're studying them, and we're gonna do it in like a way that is, to our knowledge, is like the best way we can do it. Either putting them in like, I mean, debates about like aquarium stuff like that, but same time you could just not give them the blathers. He's like, I'm not gonna catch a fish. You don't have to do it. But then again, it's like there are activities that do encourage you to do it. So I can understand the pressure angle of it, that the game's like, hey, you should try this out. It's like, I don't really want to do that, but the game does offer so many other things. I wonder, to the extent people who generally get have a concern with that, if they feel that there's enough in the game offered that they don't have to, like, they
I have a friend who doesn't fish. She's like, it's actually like a pain in the ass for her. And also, I'm sure you guys can like empathize or agree, fishing is some of my favorite fucking things to do. Like, I spent hours in Ocarina of Time trying to get the biggest bass. Hours. And but I also, PETA's very extreme, and they do some good work, but it seems like, I didn't know that this was a thing, but it sounds to me like using this as a jumping off point to go, hey, remember, we're here and we are political.
Yeah, it was very
everyone's
unnecessary.
using hashtags to get their voice heard somehow or another, and
Yeah.
animals in the name, and they found a way to write about it.
Yeah, I don't remember what they were talking about, but they also went into like your villagers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna
again, unpopular opinion. I actually don't think the villagers are all that cute. Isabel's the only cute one that I've met so far.
I have never been a big fan of the Animal Crossing's character designs. I'll be honest. I'm not a.
I wasn't either. I came into this, I told Ian, I remember I was like, I hate the design. They all look dumb. They're just not cute at all. And then I met Joey and he changed my life.
I have to look up Joey. I don't have Joey.
Hold on, I'll put it on my background. Let me look up Joey.
Feel,
oh my god.
I just don't feel they ever have made a cat character look appealing to me in this game. They somehow bungled a cat character designs, and I'm just like, really? That seems like one of the easiest things to do, and you made it very unappealing to someone who really loves cats. I'm like, nope.
Mike, I'm this same way. I have 3 cats. There's 2 right next to me, and there's not been a cute cat yet. And also, all the jocks look weird, dude. They just look. Oh, he's cute.
Oh, okay.
He's like a baby. Like he wears a little diaper or whatever. I don't know who that person is.
Somebody. That's a cute little angel. That's an angel baby.
So cute. And like
I don't know if you ever got into the Sanrio characters past Hello Kitty, Sofia. Those were some cute fucking characters like Pachaco, Karopi. Like they know how to make. They also did the egg yolk thing, like the lazy egg yolk. That like I would want a whole Animal Crossing world of, Sanrio characters. Those are cute.
I mean, I think what I like is that there are so many different types of villagers, I feel, where it's people's favorites are not my favorites at all.
Sure.
Like at all. Like I do not think I'm not a cat person. So like I like cats in real life, but like in Animal Crossing at least, cats not my thing. Tia, the elephant. The elephants are so sweet. They're so cute. I can't. And I like some of the ugly ones. Like I like Boots. He's a crocodile. He's a jock. He seems boring, but you know what? He loves me, so I'm gonna love him back. It's great.
Tia is a teapot.
Yeah.
But it's so cute.
Sweet? Exactly. There are a lot of cute ones, but you have to I was very lucky with mine. I have most of my originals. I let one go because she kept asking, and I was like, she's a kangaroo with a kid. I don't want a kid on my island.
Why do they want to leave?
Oh, you haven't had anyone want to leave?
Well, because they don't play that much.
Oh, girl, you're in for it. Oh, it's so sad. They will start saying, oh, I want to experience new life. And it's like, you just have to be a pain to them and be like, no, you're staying here. You're not allowed to explore the world. And it feels bad every time. But I'm like, no, you're not leaving me.
You're like an agent of time. Look, see, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You guys are.
But then afterwards, they're nice with you. Like, Joey was the first one to ask. And like, my heart sank. And I was like, I got to make sure I'm pressing no. I stood and looked at it like, this is the no, and this is, and then I pressed, and he was like, oh, you're right. You're the best person in the world. This is the best person. And I was like, I know.
Stockholm syndrome.
Don't do it ever again.
I have let everyone go who's asked. Just because I was like, I feel bad. I'm like, they don't sound happy here. I was like, I don't want to keep you here if you're not happy.
Well, it's got to be a mechanism of the game, right? So that
it's
not I anthropomorphize way too much. Like, if I hit a cat in Minecraft, I'm having a hard day. Like, that hurts my feelings. But, like, if they got to put it in there so you can get... How many possible villagers are there? Do we know the number?
Like hundreds at least. There's like...
Oh, yeah, wait.
Are you serious? That many?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Let me double check.
I think there is probably a wiki page that has...
391?
I'm sorry. That's how many villagers there are?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
Wow.
And like some of them are worth so much money. Money, I mean Nook Mile tickets, but also people buy them for actual money. Raymond is a very hot commodity. He goes for like over 100 Nook Mile tickets. And like, yeah, I know I'm not into animal trade. That's where I draw the line. I do furniture and art only. That's my black market contribution. But when it comes to animals,
this is what I saw in the turnip exchange stuff. It's like how serious business all this was. When I was like, why do people want these vouchers for travel? It's like, that's the way they can force new residents and try and get the ones they want to show up. and they're like really adamant about like if you want this price for my island today, you need to give me 5 vouchers because they'll just spam it over and over until they get the right. They basically want to craft like the perfect island for themselves. They want like the right type of villagers. It gets a little like, I mean,
it's strange to get into. I've dealt with Nook Mile ticket exchanges, not too high ones though. It's more like, hey, can I get that rug for 5 or whatever? Or like I got a bunch of the like arcade machines for like 3 or 4, and that's fair. But like I could sell like stuff I have on my island for like 100 Nook Mile tickets easy. But it's like, but that is like people use that again if they have a villager leave to look for people like Raymond because he's like the cool one. He's in, and like I'm not into that. When Kit left me, which left me kind of heartbroken at first, I spent like 15. I was like, I want a cute one. I want a vibing one, and then I found Tia, who's a teapot, and I was like, that's it. Like the people I met before, they create. Oh God, there was some no. There were some that I met in my island. I was like, you better not move in. I cannot stand your face. I'm so sorry.
Just that's what I'm saying. A lot of them aren't cute. That's what I get. So I'm heartened to know that there are some cute ones out there.
What we gotta do is we gotta have someone move from your island that you don't like, and then I'm gonna give you some Nook Mile ticks, and we can go on like a journey, and we can find you a really cute, precious one.
I think we should play anyway, but I definitely don't dislike my people, but I just don't care about them.
See, you haven't met the right one yet.
Raymond's super cute.
You haven't met your Joey. Right.
Raymond is the man I want to date. So
you like Raymond?
I mean, that's a cutie hipster cat, but it's cute.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my hot take. It's like I don't like Raymond. He's not my favorite. I like the ones people don't like Boots,
kitty.
Who's just a crocodile. He's just that's it. He's a jock crocodile, and all he talks about is sports. But it's fine. He's gonna place my heart. Or Angus, who's a cranky bull with a Guy Fieri like flame T-shirt.
Oh my goodness.
People hate him, but I'm like, it's fine. He'll chill here. Because I have this weird idea that's totally wrong, but like of him going to one of those islands and so many people meeting him and leaving. And I'm like, I don't want to do that to him though, because nobody would want him. It's totally irrational, not how it works. But in my head, I'm like, that's going to happen, and he's going to be left on those islands forever, like Tom Hanks. Just castaway style. Just that's where you are. We don't want that happening. What were we talking about?
Well, to bring it back to like the summer update stuff. From my perspective of why I find it hard to stay. So we were talking about like the pandemic did extend the longevity of this game, but even for someone like me. These updates, this is Nintendo's way of trying to keep you coming back into this game, because this is what this game's all about, is people need to come back for these seasonal updates, these event type things. And of all the ones I've seen, again, I didn't get involved with the wedding one, but I did read up and watch some stuff on it. This offshore diving and swimming stuff seems like the most comprehensive thing and most interesting thing they've done since the release. Yeah. And this is stuff I want to see more, because not only is it another activity, it's expanding the world. It's someplace you couldn't access before, so it's a new way to access the game and expanding the gameplay. This is the type of stuff that actually makes me more interested in coming back. Like their Easter event was a huge bust for me. I hated it. It was a terrible grind. God. It was everything that was wrong with like the type of content updates some games do to keep you coming back. And then a lot of the stuff they did afterwards, this was like either too short in terms of duration, just not intriguing enough. And as you said, I think earlier, Sofia, the activities and stuff, when you had friends come over, you wish you had more activities. I've seen people get creative with trying to do cool hide and seek, but it'd be nice if Nintendo supported that with more actual in-game mini game type stuff to do with this.
I think the only thing they have in game is the stopwatch, which you can use to like have your own tournaments and stuff. But it's too little. I mean, it's part of it is not being creative. Like the people who are making like deal or no deal shows, or like the mazes that like people literally create a maze out of their entire island, and then it's a competition. Like there are so many cool things people do. So part of it, I think, is also lack of creativity. Like I'm gonna be first to say it. Or not per se, but like it's I think they should do is kind of marketing wise, they could have spoiled a lot more to show what you're working towards. I think if everyone knew how cool the future like horoscope items are, oh my god, they're all so much better than like the first ones we got. Like there's stuff like that, or just like what's gonna happen in winter. Those items, I don't have any of those, but oh my god, I'm so excited. I didn't black market any of that stuff. I was like, I gotta save some, so no winter items. But I think doing that instead of being like every furniture you get is a surprise, like every you can't see what you're missing kind of unless you go online. I think that would have been a good type of thing to spoil, and just be like, yeah, this is what you're, because then you'll be like, oh, I actually want to work towards getting something. Or
Well, that's what I mean with like Pocket Camp. You knew
Yeah.
what sets you were completing. Like, I hate prohibitive games that are like, you must wait 7 hours until this thing is built. And it's like you had to wait a day for the museum or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's a little harder when it's an app. But I knew what I wanted and what I didn't have. But if they did it that way, then trading and getting your friends to come to your island and send you gifts would be it would be less, you'd be less incentivized to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a few things that they still need to do in terms of time. I would wonder how it would work if they could have like implemented this thing. It might be unfair or not, but like you pay more and the bridge is fixed quicker. Like you get it by the evening instead of the next day. If you pay extra amount of bells, like how it would probably be in real life, like stuff like that, like express delivery of packages
or if you
something.
Like, maybe because I mean the whole point of the first to get to the quote unquote ending credits is like you want to build the island's reputation, so you need to like improve the island, bring more people there. If you could like, if you were actually like an island manager, like a mayor type thing, where you need to set up certain like organizations and bureaucracies, like we need a construction company, let's invest in this, and if you have more resources or money put into that, building goes faster. I mean, this is like getting the Sims type stuff. Just they have more element of that in there. I think that would help out maybe with some of the complaints I see in that, but especially in the early game, where as you said, you have to wait a whole day for something to be built. It's like, well, I'm done for today. Bye. You really want me to leave your game when I want to keep playing? It's like, I want to keep playing.
I literally stopped playing when I had 3 more. I built, I had all this stuff for the 3 new people. I only had 2 residents, as everyone starts with, and the 3 new people were coming, and I was like, I have to wait a day. Like it was just tough. It was like the duration. I haven't really been back since.
I do think that the starting hurdle is way too hard. Like I almost quit in the first few weeks because I only got toilets. That was a big part of it. But also, it just, everything took way too long. Even when I got, like, I was really grinding. I was paying off every loan by the end of the night. Like I was with fruit and just nonsense. But I did it. I did everything except for like the 1 million ones. Then I had to like take some days. But without turnips, because I didn't understand turnips. I do think that it's straight. It's what I think that's difficult with this game is that its target audience is everyone, and so you have people who are gamers and not gamers. You have people that are 12 and are 42. Like it's not. And so to say, I would have liked it if, like you said, like we could have like systems where you're a mayor and you have to like take over finances and do all. But then you're going to lose so many of people in the player base, right? And so the hard thing is to make it interesting enough for adults, which are probably the majority of people playing, but also having it be open to casual players and to just kids. Like there's so many parents who had such a good time playing this with their kids, and that's so good. I'm so happy that they get to do that, especially like now where I feel like it's just mostly R-rated games coming out anyways. But yeah, I do think that it would have been cool to have something like that, or if it was like an option, maybe it was like Tom Nook was like, I need some help. Do you want to help me with operations?
Yeah,
and
I think that would be the way to integrate it.
Then you could have done it.
That's a good idea.
And I think that would have been really cool to be like, yeah, or like, screw you, I'm just gonna run around on the beach and do nothing. Which is the good thing about this game. You don't have to do anything.
Listen, the Tom Nook narrative may not be over. You know what I mean?
Oh,
he might be like, the island has been built. I have other places to go.
He's like, I'm gonna leave you.
Yeah, it very well could happen. And this cat never does. I mean, he's a very loving cat, but he never does this. So
it's cozy. It's cozy.
It's too.
Although I have to say though, now that I just thought of it, the biggest thing Nintendo has to do right now is cloud save. Because I am horrified of losing my save. I am horrified of like almost 600 hours of my life. And I haven't allowed anyone to come to my island because I'm working on a big thing. And so nobody's even seen a bit besides me. Like, why is it not out yet? Like, I hope and pray August will be the cloud saving month.
Well, like, you can't fucking mail somebody a gift and have your island open. Like,
Yeah.
that's dumb, you know?
There's a lot of weird small things. Like you can't like access your storage unless you're in your house, which gets super annoying sometimes.
Like, I just like, put it in a bin outside the house. Don't let me have to go. So like, I got to be by my house. I got it, you know? But
yeah. Well, then like it was just, then you drop it on the ground and then your rating goes down and it's like a whole thing. Like, why can't the rating just happen like once? It's a whole, there's so many like small, the conversations that are so long traveling from one island to the other. It's that one's so long.
The cloud save stuff is BS, not just with Animal Crossing, but like Nintendo's policy on like backing up certain game saves is just terrible. Like the dumbest thing ever. So they really need to fix that. It's completely unacceptable. And especially as you said with a game like this, I think this and Pokemon probably have like the most investment from people in a game that you cannot back up your save on the cloud with them. So it's completely unacceptable. But you're getting to some like small changes you'd like to see. I do have a Patron question from North Star Ken, who wants to know basically about what are some of the other additional features or quality of life improvements you'd like to see added to the game that could help with the longevity of this game. They suggested a sort of activity actually they'd like to see was like farming being implemented into the game as an activity.
I do think, and I think it's been like rumored, or like that, like a cafe and like farming, or like food, I guess, like farming, because you know there's going to be, I'm not going to spoil stuff. There's going to be stuff in the fall that are cool items that will be used for crafting, but they could also be used for other stuff. But who knows if like they're probably not going to do that. But yeah, I think farming would be cool. And also like a more
then you start going into like Harvest Moon territory, which is honestly something I'm just waiting for.
What do you mean?
So like Harvest, I mean this positively. Harvest. Have you ever played Harvest Moon?
No.
You don't like that kind of game?
No, I didn't mean that. I just realized that sounded so like, ugh, no,
sure
no way. I just meant, oh no. And then I was going to drink my water.
Got it. So
no.
Did you play Stardew Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't, but it's a version. It's like a fan version of Harvest Moon where you gotta clean up your farm. You gotta woo the chicks or the boys and farm and like mine and go into what if there was a cave system?
So that would be fun.
Because if you're gonna add farming, we all need a cave system.
Oh, add mining, please. Cool. Yes.
That'd be really cool.
I think farming would be really cool. Although right now my island is in like a state of just disarray because it's been raining every day. There's flowers everywhere. I went from working so hard to duplicate to now like being overrun. It's beyond. I do wish, but yeah, I think it would be cool to break up the amount of flowers with just like a patch of something, and you can watch it grow and like you could. Maybe like make food for your villagers, and that could be a cool gift.
And they have to like collect recipes, which is a Harvest Moon thing too.
Yeah, that'd be a great
idea. Yeah, if it was tied into a cooking system or something like that, I think I'd be more into that. The cave system though too, because you're talking about Jess. Because if it was like gathering like minerals or like mining, but also with Blathers, now it's like, oh, you can now have stuff to be on display, but also it could be resources for some other type of activity as well. Both what you're both talking about, like, and what North Star Ken was wishing for, this is the type of activities I'd like to see, is that you have these kind of like basic systems in place that could be expanded into these larger activities. And I like to see more of this from Nintendo on these updates, because even like the swimming diving stuff, it's neat, but it's still filtering in the same like kind of like gameplay loop. Essentially, it isn't leading to something bigger or something really that different to me.
But also, let's take a look at that though too, because you said it earlier that it's expanded the world, just even that much though, right? Even if it's 2 inches, it's expanded the world or the possibility of where we can go. So it's cool that they didn't go too far in one direction and then just totally piss people off, right? Because someone's going to have a complaint if it's like too. I already had a complaint that it's too hard to swim, but it does allude itself to future iterations of the world changing, right? Like a crevasse is open because there was an earthquake, and now we can go into or now we didn't realize how fertile this ground was, or there's gold in those hills, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that it is open. I think they're hinting at the possibility of making it bigger.
I think it's interesting because when I hear that question, like I do think that there are certain things that could expand, like expanding the ocean, super cool. If they could do like some underground stuff, that would be really cool.
Or
too.
like boat trips. There's nothing wrong with boat trips. And
you know, make a boat.
I think this was a question too, Damiani, that you were going to ask, if whether versus updates or GLCs.
Yeah, another patron, David, asked specifically about, do we like the this type of style of updates that they've been doing with Animal Crossing versus like a more bigger paid DLC expansion type thing? Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up, because I feel like the two questions kind of go hand in hand, where you both kind of said it in your own way. It does keep you coming back. It doesn't become prohibitive that like, oh fuck, I have to spend another $30, you know. And now it's just something new, and like not too overwhelming, something new. So I do think I don't think all games work with this kind of mode, but like Minecraft's always done it, right? And they do huge changes, and they don't make anybody pay for a new version of the game. So
yeah,
I like it.
I mean, I don't mind it either. I think, you know, we briefly just mentioned Pokemon. If I look at the difference between like it's two different games, obviously, but like this has given me so much more, I feel, in a lot of ways than Pokemon, even though I wish Pokemon would have. There are so many more issues with that. Like a lot of people think about like money's worth. They think about hours played, for example. Like there was no way for me to sit and play Pokemon for that long. Like it was just, you know. And I do like the fact that updates are free, because it does feel like my money was worth it, right? Even if you haven't played as many hours as I have, the fact that you will get stuff for free, like as it goes on, unlike, you know, a lot of other games, it is refreshing. And it does like, it just feels like they care in a way, you know? Like I feel like it would have been almost feeling unfair if like, oh, you can get a you know, boat expansion, but then you have to pay $30-$40. And I'd be like, that kind of sucks, especially now, given a lot of people's economic circumstances.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I do appreciate the free updates. I do think it's funny because they're giving us more stuff than I would ask for. Like I never even, like I thought like it would be cool to swim, but it was never like, my biggest wish right now is more custom design slots, because I've run out, and I'm so mad because I got so many paths I wanted to make. They're just like, it's like very small little tweaks, like they just a little more room on your inventory, or like just tiny little fix the scorpion glitch. Oh my god, have you guys run into the scorpion thing? You probably haven't.
Well, I've gotten stung by one.
Oh no. So I caught like 4 or 5, and then they did like a fix because there were like too many or whatever. And now every single time I've seen a scorpion the past 2 months, they just glitch out into existence. They will walk into a wall and just poof, like not just walk into water. That's the thing they actually do, but they will just like get stuck and just glitch out. And it's like, I haven't caught one in so long. It's just, they're just not there.
Aww.
And I'm like, I get the whole farming thing because I was part of it. I would go to Mr. Allen's, put on an audiobook, and just sit and catch whatever. Like that was my jam. Like every night. That's probably why I played so much, because like every night I put on an audiobook for a couple hours and just like, I'm gonna go catch some tarantulas and get like
I heard the tarantula stuff. Yeah, Tarantula Islands,
man.
People doing that stuff to make a lot of money. They're like, forget turnips. This is the way you make bells.
That's how I made that's how I paid off every loan every night. Just so few too. It was crazy. It was so much fun.
I will say, looking at their update history, they do seem to care a little bit to some degree about curbing how easy it is to make bells off of quote unquote exploits and things they didn't intend. They seem to be like patching out those every so often. I think they did see like the rush to getting like how the player economy was that people were getting like using the Eternal Exchange and other means to just accumulate a mass amount of bells that they were getting to their goals too quickly. And they were seeing a month or two ago reports that people were like felt they had this overwhelming sense of like, oh, I did this too quickly. People like resetting their whole island just to start over. And like, this is, I'm a huge Animal Crossing fan. I played all the games and like, I usually take my time, but I didn't do it this time. And now I feel, I was like, I feel bad about this. I want my experience again. So I'm going to start over and feel more sense of gratification rather a sense of, earning it versus the immediate gratification. And I was kind of surprised, but I was like, I'm not too terribly surprised, but interesting. There's like a lot of people talking about that and that concept coming up of it, because we were talking about like using outside of the game methods to acquire things, and turnip exchanges that popped up were one of the hot topics about, is this within the spirit of the game? Is this breaking the game? Is this the way the creators intended to do it? But versus this is what the community wants. This is what the community is doing. It's like that fun discussion about creator intent versus like, what the community is going to run and do with it. Which one is, which do you place? It's that hard discussion basically about that.
I think it's a both thing, because it's, on the one hand, I hate the fact that, well, they kind of fixed it now, because now they did a patch, was it yesterday, or a few days,
July 3rd was
time does not exist in this vacuum,
which seems like yesterday. I was gonna agree with you.
Well, they did one just now, but that wasn't the one they did that with, where it was with the summer update, where because there's like, there used to be a certain day, it was Sahara and Life and someone else, Kix, who would come to your island every week. The same with the Saturday, Sunday. So the like special characters, like it was such a small window for them to appear that people like I didn't have Red for like a month. He never appeared because they had the thing where 3 days were filled and then the weekend was filled, and so there was so little space for new ones. But now I think with the summer update, you're not guaranteed Sahara every week. You're not guaranteed Life every week, which gives so much more room. Like I was like, oh, CJ, have not seen him for I don't even know how long, right? And so I think that's really good, because the thing that kind of like sucked was the fact that it took, like, for someone like me, if I didn't have friends who would help me out with art, I would have basically none, because Red has been on my island like 3-4 times. Like that's too little, right? And same with people who haven't had Red or haven't had I have not had Gulliver yet. It's a bit too early. But I haven't like Gulliver generally. Like I've barely had Gulliver. I have barely any items, and so it's sad to see someone like it tempts you to be like, I'm going to go and trade Nook Mile tickets or bells or whatever, because I want this one item that's gonna like complete this one part of my island or complete this one thing that I'm doing. And it is that pro and con of like, they want you to be social, obviously. It was advertised from the first trailer, so you can be 8 people on the island, like bring your friends, it's going to be great. But at the same time, it has created this very almost toxic trading villagers, trading everything, selling things for ridiculous amounts of money, kind of forcing people to time travel because they want the things that they're seeing other people have, which is also kind of a really sad thing. But I mean, I do like the fact that you have the option to do both of those things, right? It's like you don't have to. You just have to sit there and be in pain while other people have cool stuff.
I'm usually gonna always side on the favor of like give the players as much options as possible. Like that's always like I think for the best. I will say a lot of some of the issues I take with this game and then that are coming up in our discussion here about this is tied to just again like we're talking about cloud saves, like alluded to Nintendo's online. I just think the online experience of this game is suboptimal. I think. There's a lot more they could do with the online aspect of the game. There's too many steps. Just like a lot of their other games with the Nintendo first-party games, too many steps to get online, not enough options, not enough features there. I think a lot of this stuff could be part of an in-game ecosystem already if they would just step up their online functionality, like an online auction board for starters. Like, hey, this item exists, just bid on it bells. You don't need to go on an outside site and pay real money or whatever for it. Just do it in game. Just like keep people in the game and stuff. And they just, for whatever reason, they just don't really run with that type of stuff. It's never been Nintendo's MO with this. And I think that's one of the biggest disappointments when it's come to this game for me and why it's been so hard to stay so interested in it.
Right. What do you think, Jessica?
Well, I don't know. My friend came to my island and like dropped 3 million bells, and I was like, "Thank you. I get to pay for my." You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a problem. But again, I wasn't fully enthralled in the game. I think I'm with you, Damiani, where like play the game how you fucking want to play, and I give me options, right? I'm sure when Minecraft was created, they knew the possibilities, but then people far surpassed, right? What you can do. And I'm a purist. I don't want to play creative. Like, why are you playing creative? Like, that makes no sense to me. But that's just me. So I'm not going to yuck your yum if that's how you get off, for lack of a better phrase. But like, if people are, first of all, never underestimate a good controversy. So if people are getting pissed that you're time traveling, that's good press. If people are not, all the news is good news, whatever. And if people are like gouging turnips and selling, tarantulas, that's just one way that they're getting involved. And you're going to have people that are obsessed with anything like this. I remember being obsessed with furniture in Neopets. I would stay up all night long, click refresh, try to get those rare fucking fairy furniture pieces, and then sell them for 1 million Neo points. Like, that's crazy. But I get it. So we have this new shiny thing. People are looking for an escape. And if doing it black market-esque, it kind of is how you get your jollies, I think that's fine. But I think it's interesting too that you said that people want to restart. Like, that's their prerogative. They can do that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
And I think that comes maybe with the whole like terraforming and stuff. And I watch a lot of like Animal Crossing tour videos where there are creators that go on tours on other people's islands, and it tortures me because I realize my island sucks whenever I watch those. But it's also so inspiring to see all the insane cool stuff that people make, and like the insane opportunities, or like what you can do. Even people who don't time travel, where it's just like you built this crazy, like people have made castles out of like just things that you didn't even think of, like, oh, that actually looks like a tower.
Wow.
Like, I think that's so cool. And so that's also a reason why I would love a cloud save, is because I think people would want to make more than one. And that would be really cool to, like, once you're done, now let's go to the other one. If I regret it, I'll just go back to my previous one. It's kind of like The Sims, where it's like the same kind of principle, except, there are no cheat codes and you can't just get, infinite amount of bells, but it would still,
I don't really often go to my slop saves because I feel like that's bad gameplay. But if you put in a lot of time and it doesn't look good, yesterday I was streaming Minecraft and I fell in the end. And when you die in the end, you lose everything. And you know what? I went back and I went back to my save for 30 minutes before, because that work took too long.
Yeah.
But I don't do it that often. But it's a little, in my mind.
But you still have the option, though, is the important thing, I think. Here we don't have that option. It's either or. Yeah. Destroy everything, start anew, or keep what you have. And it's not just Animal Crossing. People ask for this in, like, again, in Pokemon. You only get one save in that game. They force you to have that. It's like, what if you just it's just it's player authority and option. I get upset about.
With Pokemon, I can see it probably serves the game. It probably would serve both games. I get that. But since Animal Crossing is in real time, how do you justify having cloud saves and going back 2 hours too?
I mean, for me, it's more like make sure my island is saved if something happens, God forbid, to my Switch.
Well, it should automatically save, right?
Yeah. No, but like if I want to get a Switch and not a Switch Lite, I would like the option to move it, for example.
I see.
Like that, or just the safety of knowing if I just threw this in the garbage, my save exists in the atmosphere and I can go back to it.
Look at how bad they bungled the fucking Joy-Cons, right? So they definitely want you to get another Switch, play it on there. But that's
the thing, like if it's ruined, it's gone. Like that's unfair.
And I don't think they care, is what I'm saying. Like,
well, that's the thing, because they actually mentioned it in one of the first trailers, like reveal trailer, the long one. They actually did mention cloud save will come soon, and I'm like, how soon is soon? There are people out there. There are people literally losing their islands or having all kinds of horrible stuff. Please don't let it happen to me.
That's definitely concern number one for sure.
Yeah,
it's just a way to have it preserved.
Imagine if and also that's when I think about little kids and stuff losing stuff. Like I saw this hilarious tweet of this dad who said, I just accidentally sent away my child's favorite creature, or like favorite villager. And like, I bet he was like, I wish there was a cloud save so I could just go back and just have my son have this person he loved. Like there's small things that I think it wouldn't be used necessarily for game advantage. I think most people would either use it just to be like, I'm going to switch from a Switch and not a Switch Lite, or vice versa, or it would be like, make sure it's safe.
That's the practical thing for me is I'm playing on a Switch Lite right now.
Yeah, me too.
And with our profession here, my profession, there's times where someone's like, oh, like Ian did a video on Animal Crossing, want us to do capture, and I was like, oh,
I can't.
About that, Ian, I'm on a Switch Lite and it doesn't have video out, and they don't allow me to transfer my save in any way to my normal Switch or normal OG Switch. So I can't actually do. I mean, there is a way technically. We could have done an island visit and had someone else capture.
I forced him to come to mine.
Yeah, we later realized that, but that's like this shouldn't be the. There's just these simple things like, oh, I want to get captured from the beginning of the game for whatever reason. I'm doing a retrospective or a document or whatever. People are like, oh, just go to make another profile, start again. It's like, okay, yeah, that does exist, but or they could just give me another stupid save file. It's literally the same thing. Like, why can't I just do it in my same? It feels archaic a little bit.
Was it so that people bought the special Switch Lite and were like incentivized in that way? Like,
no, because I mean, the Switch Lite is like, for me, I wanted a Switch Lite and it's been perfect for me. But like, it does have a lot of negatives when it comes to stuff. Like, you can't put it on your TV, you can't record it. There's just it's portable, but like there are certain negative downsides to it, and so I feel like it's just I don't know. That's the thing. It's like beyond me why cloud save doesn't exist. Like it's I guess they're struggling with something.
Well,
like,
and
there must be.
Think about it. If it's so hard for them to open your island and mail something, you have to hope that there's a reason. Like that they're just not like. Obviously, they've got some wires crossed, and Nintendo is late to the online gameplay world. Yeah. And because it was never their focus. And it's cool that it's opening up, and you know, like think about Smash has like all those bugs, and Mario Kart just got good, you know, so it's not like they're killing the online game. So you have to assume some of the coding is going wrong somewhere. So that's got to be the holdup.
That just reminded me of, I've very rarely played Pokemon Shield online, but I tried it one time to meet my friend. Did not work. We did not see each other. It was we managed to see each other once. We like glitched out. He managed to finally enter. It was horrible. Just terrible experience. Even just playing online raids, just nah. So actually you have a good point. I think they need to figure it out.
Even though it should be better.
Yeah.
We know it isn't. So these things that we're saying all probably correlate.
Yeah.
Like I would rather have them focus now on making a cloud save than making any more content for Animal Crossing right now. Because I feel like most people would be like, at least I can save it and then I could continue my other games. I could maybe delete it from my Switch because I want more space, whatever it may be. Like, just please just save this quarantine memory so I can look back in a few years and be like, this is all I did for these few months. Like, that's it.
It's just interesting to see what their priorities are. Like this, you'd think would be one of the highest priorities, as players are really asking for this. Same thing with like when you were talking about Smash Brothers. They keep doing these big character reveals, but people are like, "You make so much. This is like one of your best-selling games. You make so much money off this game. Fix the online so people can play online." We just tried to stream it recently online. It was like laggy as heck. It's like barely playable. It's got the party game mentality. So it's like, it's fun. We're hitting each other. Whatever. We're not being competitive and stuff. Who cares? But I mean, it just doesn't work. You don't want to like ignore the fact it doesn't work. So
which is the whole point of the fucking game. Like, no one's sitting at home unless only to get good is to play with your friends. And we can't right now, right? Like, so maybe also Nintendo didn't really anticipate that we were going to be solely reliant on video gameplay online.
Lack of couch co-op. You'd think the pandemic would be kind of light a fire in their asses to like, hey, maybe we should do something during this time to remedy our online infrastructure. Even if we can't do it right away, at least tell everyone, hey, we're in the process of overhauling it. But nothing. It's like they don't. On the outward facing, it seems like they just don't care that much about it.
One question, and I don't have the answer for this. Are they a normally transparent company about their things they're working on and building towards? That's not is that an impression you have?
I mean, they give insight in like their Japanese investor meetings. They give the Q&A, and there's like some behind the scenes stuff. It depends on which team it is, what they're talking about. They're definitely not the most transparent. There are definitely companies out there, mostly Western developers, who are way more transparent, especially when it comes to like the overhauling their game, whether it's online or balancing the game or doing updates. They are definitely more comprehensive and have a better line of two-way conversation with their community than Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't have a great reputation for on that aspect of it. I would say they're probably more in the less transparent, especially when it comes to like online stuff. They've always said stuff about we're working with these partners, working with this, but
Right.
it's just always broad statements.
Then I don't know if it's a lack of care thing, more as it's just not company policy, and they're like, it's not their priority. Also, they're raking money in right now, so even our concerns doesn't matter to them.
Just the last episode, one of my friends on Kenny, who literally made the same point about Smash, like, what incentive do they have to fix the online? Everyone's buying this game. It's making so much money for them, and people are still buying it and playing it and praising it. Why would they? Like, who cares? Why would they care?
It's a good argument.
Like, it's business, sucks, unfortunately.
But it sounds right.
It's business. It's like, this is what people are paying for and what they care about, so what incentive do we have? But going with online stuff, real quick, to do like a little bit of a segue here to maybe move away from Animal Crossing. Things going online in Nintendo. We didn't have an E3 this year, and in favor of that, we're getting all these online events from all these gaming companies. Nintendo's been doing it to an extent. Other companies have been doing it to an extent. And there's a lot we could talk about here. And I want to start this off by kind of giving the impressions of, this is the first year for me where I don't get to go to an E3 when I wanted to, and I don't have a centralized, focused event for gaming news and announcements. I'm so used to that. It's been such a normal thing. Even when E3 was E3 being in jeopardy after the controversy from last year, I always thought something would come and take its place at the very least. There'd be some kind of event, and there are other events. We don't have that anymore because of the coronavirus pandemic. And so we're getting all these other events. So how do we feel about these random streams popping up? We don't fully know what to expect half the time. We watch them. There's some announcements there. They might be good. They might be so-so, versus the experience of going to an event. And I mean, you still watch it online, but then you could go there, get hands-on, interact with people, like the experience of going to a convention. How are we feeling about this?
It's definitely messy. I know, like, since I don't work full-time in gaming anymore, I definitely haven't caught everything. Like, I still have no clue what the hell's being released, when it's being released. Like, after a 9-hour work, I was just like, what happened? And I think there was the stream, and I think, like, I was like, oh, like, when is this game? Whatever, like, Ghost of Tsushima coming out soon? I just forgot about it. It was just like, it's just there. Yeah, I think that it sucks to not have that one thing where it's like, you just go back if you're like, I'm gonna read this article and here it says, here are all the things that are coming out, and here are all the, after 4 days, here's everything they said, here's everything for the rest of the year. I do miss that for sure. It's nice to not be jealous of people going to E3 anymore, because I wouldn't have been able to go this year.
Yeah.
So part of me is like really like just maliciously like, haha, you are not going, none of us are going. But,
about that real quick, I think that's fair. I've always been kind of weird, I guess weirded out's not the correct way, but like kind of suspect about the nature of who gets into E3 and stuff. I've definitely been on the outside looking in, both before I worked in this industry and even in recent years where Easy Allies hasn't necessarily been given badges for everybody, so it's been like a struggle for that. But I do think there should be a way for everyone to have access to that. I do think it's a little unfair. This how they're doing things now definitely have the potential to give more people access to have more people give opinions on this, to have a bigger, larger discussion than just having a few select media outlets and media industry people go. My concern, and I think how this hasn't worked out this year, is the spread out nature of it. If all this was condensed into like 2 weeks of all these companies doing these things, I think it would have worked out better than we're now 3 months into like the first event that Jeff Keighley was that hosted for it was like the first Xbox events showing off supposedly next gen gameplay, and it was all these like CG trailers and like not gameplay. And it was just like, wait, that didn't go over so well. And then Sony's reveal event for the PS5 software, that feels like forever ago. And we got some stuff coming up this weekend with Ubisoft, in the latest month, Microsoft showing off first party. It's so scattered and stuff, as you said, it's so hard to keep track of. I miss that condensed week, and I want that back so badly.
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No,
you go.
Okay. No, it does feel like there's no like I feel like I'm not excited about anything because I have no clue what the hell's going on. Just coming home and like reading a tweet here and there, and it's like, well, is that real or not? And like having to look through, am I going to look at a stream and try and figure that out? And I do think that companies too they have not taken like control over the situation themselves. They could have very easily been like, we're going to have a press conference on this day that we intend. Like, why did not they all just be like, we're going to have a live stream on that day where we were supposed to show our stuff? And then we could all, I think the idea of making this summer fest and doing all these, like it kind of backfired. I think for me personally, like I would have just been like, just have, instead of the hour you were supposed to stand on that stage, just do a live stream and just tell me about it. And that's it. And then we would have had 4 days and it would have been gone. Like, that's it. We got everything we needed. Instead, I feel like it's just so scattered now. Like, I mean, I'm super stoked about the new Far Cry. Do not get me wrong. But I would have still like, it's like a sudden thing that just popped up. And I'm like, oh, so this is happening. Did not know July 12th was going to have a thing. That's brand new news to me. Cause like, yeah, it's so scattered. I don't know. And I can't imagine working in games industry right now being like, it's just messy, really.
Before I ask you this, just to close out your thought here, Sophia, the signal boosting of like all these companies pushing for E3, you had so many of the biggest companies pushing for a specific time window that I think it was more people got caught in that web and understood or at least heard about it. Whereas even like you're saying, like even like Far Cry from a big publisher like Ubisoft, they have definitely tried to they put out the date, they've emailed people, but they're still missing a ton of people with that messaging because there isn't a centralized, focused event about this. And even companies like Nintendo, they're so secretive. They'll announce like a day before or shadow drop it. That's the worst thing, is to shadow drop something on the day. Like, give us some heads up, please. But
also, not to mention the fact that E3 did not get canceled quick enough. It was crazy that it was still happening for so long. Like, just cancel it straight up. Like, it's just beyond me that things are still happening. Just cancel this year. It's fine. We'll just sit in here. Better safe than sorry. But yeah, Jessica, well, you're up.
So there's a few things that are going through my head. Maybe you guys are like me, where you're experiencing screen fatigue and like tiredness just having to be interacting with the screen and not a person. Are you guys experiencing that at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
so I can't tell you how sucky it's getting at this point.
It's tough. And your eye, the blue screen, all of it, like.
So these are for.
I have yet to buy a pair. I forgot. I need one really badly. And I'm not good at managing my time because I'm an extrovert mostly that likes talking to my friends or streaming or something. So I am getting fed as as a performer. So I think by spreading it out, we wouldn't have, if we did a full one day, we have Sony, Ubisoft, Nintendo, Xbox, everyone, no one's going to sit in front of the TV or the screen that long to ingest all that information. So by spreading it out, that it actually helps our attention span. The PS5 was almost too long, right? Like it was almost too long. And it wasn't that long, but but it also was almost too long. So I'm like, even when I have rehearsals on Zoom, I limit it to about an hour and a half, 2 max, because you hit a fucking wall. It's different. And also something to think about too. Yes, E3 was like up in the air, probably was going to happen, but then the pandemic. Everybody is scrambling to figure out how. Thank you, Sophia. I know everything I'm saying is so offensive.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
was like, what happened? Sorry, no.
Not at all.
It's
I
Nintendo's
think
internet.
just like to bear in mind, dates got pushed. People being in the same room to be able to work on things isn't happening because they're not, necessary software. I'm sure things that it changed the timeline for everyone. So everyone has been scrambling. I'm sure we're just not seeing it to make sure the game comes out in time. Make sure that the messaging is correct. Make sure that the advertising is there, especially now that they don't know how to advertise. And like, so why Nintendo drops things, shout, because that's one way to get press out of nowhere. It's 12:59 at night, here's this fucking game. Like, that's one way to like get people to talk about it. What I think is interesting, and I think this translates to the whole world that COVID has accelerated, is my curiosity is in a year or a year and a half when we're able to publicly gather again, will we have an E3 again? Will Comic-Con be the same exact thing? Will we be going to PAX? Because our world is working digitally right now. Office places are different, and the world is, obviously, granted, there's a lot of problems, but there were people that were making projections, really smart projections, that we were going to go through a really long stretch of time, like 30 years, where we were really uncomfortable as a society as robots and electronics took more and more jobs away from us. There, on the other side, when 10% of the people that are employed needs to be employed, that's going to be fine. But then if you're dealing with people like we have been in America, right? Like the blue collar, the oil industry, that's why there's been such a push for people to get their jobs back, because they don't know what else to do in this world. I'm making sense, right?
Yeah, you are. Absolutely.
We've accelerated, we've closed the gap of this time of moving to a mostly electronic world or online world. So if they find that this is successful and they just spent 1/10 of their advertising budget, then instead of shipping everyone out here and their fucking displays, I think we're looking at serious adjustments, which actually makes me sad, because what I miss more than anything about a con are the people I don't normally see.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing that might, like, I, for one, do not want to be anywhere near a con or any place with so many people at once. And that will probably extend for at least next year too. Like, no, but that's just me. The thing that with gaming though, is that gamers don't like change at all. Just at all.
No.
Just any, well, and I generalize, of course, but in every aspect of gaming, change is not always welcome, even if it's for the better of people. Just gonna leave it at that. It's very much frowned upon. And so I do wonder if next year, if everything is open, if people would, and by people I also mean the gamer, if we can imagine the gamer for a second, that they would be pissed off and be like, oh my God, it just ruined. And also, like, that's the thing that annoyed me with E3 was, and I will sound like a pretentious journalist, whatever, which I kind of was at the time, whatever, where it was like, when I went there, I was annoyed by the people who had just bought their ticket, because like, okay, I'm here and I want to write stories, and there is like a 10-year-old kid who's going to play Spider-Man and I will not. And that's unfair to me, because it's like, I have to get in line, I don't have time to do all this. And that was the thing that annoyed me. So part of me now is kind of happy on behalf of games journalists who don't have to deal with that now. And it's like, we're all on the same page here. Hopefully, obviously, some people are going to get games before other outlets, which is sometimes extremely unfair. But at least it's not going to be a 10-year-old kid who's going to just mess around in Spider-Man, and you're going to have to sit and watch and be like, well, that's my story. There are pros and cons. I do hope though that it will be online, but I did kind of wish that it was like, not necessarily like, I would also not be able to sit an entire day and watch 12 hours of press conferences, but it would be nice to be like, I want to go to this channel and here is this video and I can watch this, and here is everything in this little space, whether it is a Twitter or if it's Twitch channel or YouTube video, where it's like, this is everything. Well, like, here it is.
Funimation Con just happened, I think that's what they called, like, and my friends were hosting it, so like people will be like, Gen Con is going to be not dissimilar, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to physically go to Gen Con, and now I can actually participate. So you're right that there are pros and cons, and if it is streaming all day, you just get waves of people. One guy is going to stay all day,
but
Love
I
that
guess
guy.
I think you're looking at things being so spread out ultimately if that's what we're talking about. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, we don't know which side is up, and you forget if Xenoblade Chronicle comes and goes and no one thinks about it. But I bet you a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're reimagining a lot of their advertising and was thrown for a loop.
I think there's definitely growing pains with having to adjust to this new reality, and the potential, as you both were alluding to, that this could be more of a long-term thing once people start really analyzing the benefits of doing it this way versus the old way. I think there's a bit of a learning curve that was happening with this, and that's to be understood. And so I wouldn't be surprised if next year there is some return of the format we have now. It'll be like basically once we return to quote unquote normal, I'm very curious to see what becomes the new normal for the gaming industry in terms of how it presents its big industry events, how they do announcements, because even the things we've taken for granted in terms of like the new style are up for debate again. Like we've always accepted that Nintendo ditched live press conferences for Nintendo Directs. It became kind of the industry standard. We saw Sony follow state of plays and Xbox with Inside Xboxes. They've kind of been doing that. But even now, Nintendo said in their recent corporate update, they said we might even be reevaluating how we do directs. They might not be the most effective way of delivering our announcements anymore. There might be something different and new that's even better and works with our style. So, as you said, change is probably coming for a lot of things, regardless of whether some people like it or not. It's just, it'll be very interesting to see how they balance it, because there are things that people will say that you can only get, like the human interaction part of it. Yeah, in person. There's definitely something different between interacting with people in person versus doing it over a screen like this. Hands-on impressions, despite like having these big events, even the spread out, some of them have been really big and have been like a big focal point. We don't have the usual people are like, oh man, I kind of miss like these outlets talking about the games they got to play at the PS5 event or the Xbox event. But at the same time, later this month, Xbox announced they're doing a whole week of demos, like digitally. So is that gonna, like, is there a way to actually remedy that? Like, you don't need to come wait in a stupid line for 5-10 hours or whatever all day. Now you can just play it online. And as we were talking about earlier, like the unfair nature of certain people get to play it, like a 10-year-old kid of an executive gets to go play Spider-Man, but you don't because you're not that important to the industry or whatever, for whatever reason. Now it's like, no, it's released to everybody. Play it out on your own time. You're not worried about meeting a deadline. You're not worried about, I only have 15 minutes with this game, that's it. No, you can take your time and enjoy this. I think it'll potentially lead to better things. Technology might need to catch up to it, like better internet speeds and stuff like that. But as you're saying, Jess, like accelerated things, I think some things will still need to catch up. But eventually, I think it's going in this direction anyway. And you're going to see more of this than the return back to everything's just in a convention hall again.
Well, and I think that's it. Also ties back to what we were talking about, Nintendo not being fully ready to be this dependent on online. And I didn't know about the demos week, but I was thinking, more than our social aspect or as publications getting to go to E3, you're also looking, the industry is sprawling. It's not just the main people that, the main people that game, the main people that published it, and Sony. It's so much more than that, and it's an opportunity for influencers or people that are just starting out to get cool content. So if you have something like that, those people are suffering too. Whereas now, if you find, they've got to find ways to be more creative.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be, that's the thing that's going to be interesting to see too is, and also like in terms of E3 coming back or not, there are a lot of layers to that. Economically, the world has suffered, right? And so to bring that back up, especially when E3 has had, its history and everything that's been going on, it's like, maybe it's not the right time for companies and anyone to spend that type of money to do an E3 again. Like it's a good way for, companies to bounce back from what's happening right now in the world. But also, I guess I'm always scared in a weird way of like traditional games journalists kind of being just put to the side and having just like streamers and stuff being able to, for example, play stuff and like having this favoritism become even bigger when it comes to if everything's going to be demos online or digitally sent to you or whatever, right? Because it is weird to see like certain outlets that I follow who wouldn't be able to get certain games, and then I see like some random streamer play it, and it's like, it's not an offense to the streamer, it's an offense to the company who decides that a streamer, like, we're just going to ignore press because it's like,
but the press is going to come either way. So if like, there are always going to be people that put out a 20-minute review of a game, whether they got it ahead of time or didn't. And
yeah,
if you think about it in terms of capitalism, that it does make sense for them to give it to the streamer. I was looking at the Tat guy today, whatever the tatted
Tim the Tap Man,
whatever. He had 35 fucking thousand
I know.
people watching him play
I know.
Call of Duty. And it's, he seems like a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Like what?
Oh yeah, he's fun.
Great, because
Okay.
I don't know him. I don't follow him. I'm not like I'm not that person. That it would be a mistake for them not to give the game to that person. I'm not saying it should be that way, but if I'm a business, I'm looking at where the money is, and it's right there.
Yeah, I think what I think is I will always protect games journalism because I was part of it once upon a time, and I think that not giving outlets a game, like the first being the first when it comes to reviews, or especially like hands-on first trying out the game or whatever, those are like important articles that will be read by people. And if you're an outlet where you wouldn't be able to get those things, it's unnecessary, right? Like, because there will be a different viewership who will watch Tim the Tapman play a game, but there will also be people who read, you know, whatever publication also got to play at the same time, right? Like, you can do both, but I feel like they want to exclusivize it to streamers because, I don't know.
You're saying that
it also
certain publications aren't getting games because is that what's happening right now?
It's yeah, I mean, it will happen.
Yes.
And it probably is happening still, and it will continue to happen and get worse. And also, like, it feels, you know, a streamer won't necessarily be reviewing a game. They won't be objective in a game. You get a game for free and you're like, you know, excited about it. It's going to be hard to be critical at all. And I think that in order to make games better, you need an outlet, or like outlets, which is, you know, games journalism as a whole, to give constructive feedback on games. If there was just nobody critiquing any games besides just sitting on Twitter being like, I like it, I hate it, games are not going to get better if we don't talk about the good and bad things, right? And that's, you know, what games journalism started out as, even though it's now evolved into, you know, there are people like Easy Allies where it's like, it's not a written journalistic form, but it's still, you know, games journalism, because it is looking at games objectively and having, you know, a platform to talk about it objectively. If we don't have that, games are just going to stay the same. If there weren't anyone who had that type of platform talking about diversity in games, or talking about, you know, game companies treating people really badly, like, that's not going to make games better. And so I just hate to see when such a big part of a lot of outlets is, you know, way of making money is through firsthand previews and getting to know those opportunities pretty early, or E3 coverage. You know, I hate to see that all go to streamers who oftentimes already have their money set, when it's like, you could do both. You could still get the same amount. It's an extra code sent in the mail.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, I just hope that doesn't happen. I hope that we can have both things, you know, like,
is there a world where they're choosing and picking and choosing? Like, if you have 100,000 people that read this, then you can get a game.
Absolutely. So the metric, so one thing is, it's a usually a closely guarded secret how publishers hand out codes to different places. You can read between the lines, say the obvious thing, like, a X streamer who gets 10,000 plus concurrent viewers, they're always going to get a code, because that's, as you said, that's like a lot of eyeballs, and they view them as an influencer. This also gets into the discussion of influencer versus a reviewer / journalist. You know, what is their objective with this? Whereas an influencer, there can be money exchange. Legally, they have to disclose that now. That wasn't always a thing, but I mean, they're still okay with that as long as it's disclosed. It's all by the books and it's legal. That's something that's being paid for. It's basically a paid advertisement. But I mean, games journalists and critics, they don't get that benefit. So there definitely is an issue with who gets what and when. It's definitely an old guard mentality. It is something I personally would like to see die. I think the best thing going forward, Sofia illustrated a lot of the benefits of if we achieve what I'm about to say, is that universal access for everyone. Even if it's not universal, there needs to be a more standardized easily transparent way for how you qualify for stuff instead of being so secretive and everyone's speculating. That's why it leads to speculation. This was bought for, this was paid for. Well, this
Right.
person, there's all this stuff, and then no one really knows what's really going on. There just needs to be more transparency. There just needs to be, but first and foremost, I think just access. Let everyone have access to stuff, because even if someone only has 5 viewers, who cares? They get a chance to talk about it day one like everyone else. Everyone's on equal footing. That will lead to a lot of the things you want to see, Sofia, which is like, people will talk about games on so many different levels and so many different perspectives. You'll get such differing opinions about a game that you actually have meaningful discourse. Not all of it will be necessarily meaningful, as you said. Some of you will be able to be on Twitter saying, I liked it, I didn't. But there will be people who will now get to say their piece on this game from their perspective. And I think that's so much more valuable. And I think that's the most fair way to do it, and is the better way forward. I just don't like the gatekeeping stuff, especially someone who's in this is what we do. I never have liked it. It's never sat well with me. I have a very more of a rebel mentality when it comes to this. So it's like, I would like to see the system burn down. Like, it needs to go.
Yeah. And I mean, also sometimes, when it comes to that kind of streamers getting games before journalists and stuff, like, if you give me a Left 4 Dead 3, I will love it no matter what. It's not going to be an objective review. I'm going to sit there and be like, oh my God, I waited so many years. Like, that's the problem too. It's like, it feels like beyond. It's funny that people say that, like, the press is sponsored by games people, when it will feel the opposite. When you give someone, if they're famous for streaming a certain type of game, and you give them that certain type of game, which is what happens, obviously, they won't give someone who streams, CSGO, The Sims. Like, what are they gonna, And so it's like, they're gonna love it. It's gonna be free advertising, right? But that's advertising. And yeah, I know. I guess I'm like traditional, and I value journalism. And yeah, the games journalism word is just it's problematic sometimes, and dumb sometimes, and great sometimes. I just I like to hear different opinions on different things, and having an adult conversation, which doesn't include yelling at each other and saying, no, you don't understand anything of games. And, and sometimes that can just happen between journalists, because that's the world we live in now, where it's like, sometimes I just want to read 2 reviews that differ in opinion, and it's not just 2 people yelling at each other on Twitter. And games are not going to get better if it's just people yelling at each other on Twitter. And yeah, I do hope that we could just have everyone live in peace. Everyone gets to play. Everyone gets to have an opinion. And but also, let's burn everything down. Just everything is garbage. So let's just trash everything. Let's just trash everything. Let's just play Animal Crossing all day. And that's the only thing that matters. Am I right? That's half a joke.
I'm with
half
you.
a joke.
I'm with
half
you.
a joke. Yeah.
I live in Minecraft now.
It's nice to live in a fantasy world, for sure.
I just killed the dragon, and life is good.
I know. It's funny because I booted up GTA the other day just to feel like I still live in LA, which is, by the way, a game I would love for the Switch to have.
Did you move?
GTA
Did you move away from LA?
No, I don't see it. I'm just sitting here.
Not driving around. And
I'm not seeing anything except for Whole Foods. So it's like, I was like, I'm gonna drive around. I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm gonna go to Griffith Observatory. It felt very strange. It felt like back when I lived in Norway and would play it and be like, wow, I wish I could live there. And I'm like, do I live here? It doesn't feel like it one bit.
No,
but,
you mentioned something though, Sofia. You mentioned why isn't GTA? GTA 5 isn't on Switch. With all this going on here, I want to talk about like some game announcements that have not happened and what games we want to see, because despite the new format that we're doing for this summer, Nintendo has been sitting mostly on the sidelines for a lot of this. They've done a few things. I think most notably was the Paper Mario, the Origami King. They've been dropping these trailers. They did a Treehouse Live earlier today. They did announce a new game. It was not what everyone thought. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Maybe there's some growing pains, and still needs to learn about managing expectations. But regardless of that, we don't really know what's coming out. After Paper Mario comes out at the end of next Friday, July 17th, we don't have anything on the horizon for Nintendo, and especially the first party lineup. So with all these new the new consoles coming out supposedly at the end of the year, what is Nintendo doing? So my question to you is, what are the games you want to see come to Switch? And are there any games you think may need to come to Switch with what's coming up from their competition.
When is Breath of the Wild scheduled to come out?
It has no date. And they've literally showed it at last E3, and that has been it. We have not seen it since.
I want it so bad. I want it so bad.
I'm with you. There's been a lot of speculation. There was a lot of outlets incorrectly reported on Spanish voice actors on a podcast gave an update on development, and a lot of the English outlets misunderstood what was being said and jumped to the conclusion incorrectly that VO voice work had been completed for the game in Spanish, which would mean because audio design and sound work is done towards the end of development. So people thought it's pretty close. They had to put out a statement. The podcast had to put out a statement saying, you guys got that wrong. That is not what was said. You got it wrong. Like this type of stuff, you jump into conclusions like this puts voice actors in jeopardy, because Nintendo might think, did they just leak stuff? Did they just say something they weren't supposed to say? Like, you got to be careful with that. So that's a whole thing where, like, this no Nintendo news is also leading to a lot of speculation and rumors. That's probably the most rampant it's been running in recent years since the lead up to Smash Brothers is probably the last time I've seen rumors get this crazy about stuff and so rampant. But at the same time, yes, Jess, we don't know when it's coming out. And a lot of people are like, how long has it been in development now? It's supposed to be a direct sequel. How long does this really get? Like, there are questions. Like, even with COVID, they're like, it's been 3 years since the last one came out. Can we get another update? Yeah, these questions are just need to be, I think, are being asked a lot now, Jess.
Well, because I mean, when it gets here, just like Animal Crossing, right? When it gets here, it will be here, and everything. Even everyone was talking about how long the pandemic felt, right? A day felt like a week, but now here we are. 3 months, 4 months later, and time flies. That doesn't mean I honestly think about Breath of the Wild 2 twice a week, if not more. I'm always like, because I look at it on my Switch, I don't want to go back. I give a lot of credit to people who could go play that game again. And you know what? In maybe like 2 years, I may want to, like restart it all, because it's a fucking great game. And how many times did you play Ocarina of Time? Like, a lot. And that's actually, to answer your question, I want that. I want all the Zelda labels like available. I want, Majora's Mask. I want Ocarina of Time, and I want like not a reboot, but I want it to be like Final Fantasy, where it's. But if they can't even do Breath of the Wild, we're not even gonna get those. That's not a priority to them.
Yeah, we talked about on a previous episode. We talked about both Mario and Zelda, the dress Zelda. Next year is its 35th anniversary, so you're talking about like bring back the older games in some capacity, potentially even like an update to one of the older ones. That there's been no discussion. We just assume, next year there might be this. Like, one of the biggest rumors for what Nintendo might be doing for this year is the Mario 35th anniversary. A bunch of outlets reported a few months ago that Nintendo originally at E3 was going to do a giant segment on the 35th anniversary of Mario, talking about like the theme park opening, because that was supposed to happen. That got pushed back a year. The Mario movie, they're going to give an update to that, and then all this 3D Mario collection, like remasters of Mario 64, Galaxy, a port of Super Mario 3D World from Wii U to Switch, since all those Wii U games are getting a second chance on a better platform. Everyone's so sure of that, we haven't heard a peep from Nintendo. We don't even confirm it exists, and that's something that I think that's even enough to get people excited. I'd love to hear about that. Just
you were just saying that, and I'm like, I want it all.
it's like yeah, I feel like that's a good answer. It's just they're just not saying anything, and it's like the questions in my mind's like, when are we gonna? When's the next update gonna be? When are we gonna hear about the next game? And it gives me a lot of anxiety. If there's one thing about the epidemic, I hate having this lack of information for so long. It's just like as you said. Yeah,
and that's my no. I'm feeling the same thing. I'm sorry to cut you off. My question to you, especially as someone who's in the gaming industry so heavily, how does Nintendo benefit from not being transparent?
So the only this is weird. I mean, the one thing I could say is that Nintendo is a company that's very much about controlling the message. I mean, all companies want to make themselves look good. Nintendo is extremely cognizant of that. There are a lot of documented instances in the past where like they want to be in full control of almost all aspects of their game, even how the community handles it. They are one of the most aggressive companies when it comes to enforcing their intellectual property laws. You see Western companies who embrace fan mods, fan projects, stuff like that. Nintendo has done that at some points, but like we just saw like people make like ROM hacks of games. Nintendo goes after all these projects because that's just their MO. They don't like a lot of this stuff. They want to they could be perceived as we're being okay with this, and that's just one of the things about them. I think the only other company that's ever approached this level in the past has been Squaresoft. So Square Enix has had some draconian things about them, but I think Square Enix is growing out a lot of those compared to Nintendo. Nintendo still clings to a lot of these weird things that are uniquely Nintendo. It's just the way they do business, and like they've been successful, so they don't really have any incentive
to be different.
They're all about protecting their brand, their value. This is why they don't do a lot of price cuts. This is why they don't do a lot of sales, because they're like the Disney of video games. They do all this to protect their brand. We were even joking on the Easy Allies podcast that we recorded yesterday about the concept of a Nintendo Vault, like a Disney Vault, where this is why they're not releasing some of these older games, Jess, is because they want to vault them and bring them back in limited times to make them like
fuckers. Because you know what? We're gonna buy it. Everyone bought Link's Awakening. Yep. Everyone fucking liked it, and we all bought the SNES, download pack, and the Nintendo. We all want it. So
yeah,
it's funny because I was gonna compare it to Disney earlier when you guys were talking about something, but the quality is there. Whether it's nostalgic and we're indoctrinated, and because we played since we were kids. But it does feel like when I'm playing a game, it's worth $60, and if it's less, you do start to question things, I think.
So my question back to both of you then is we're talking about like why Nintendo's maybe like secretive, like why they aren't like being like whether they're just announcing, hey, we have a direct and stuff. Like we could spend a lot of time guessing about that. I think that's a little bit more futile because Nintendo's history. My question is like, what do you like game wise? What do you want to see? Is there like a game besides you talked about Breath of the Wild sequel? Is there anything else that comes to mind that you think could come out this year and be like one of the big questions is what's their big holiday title? There's always like a big holiday title for this company. We usually know about it by now. With Sony and Microsoft, we understand that they're still revealing their plans. We at least know about Halo Infinite for Microsoft. We'll probably hear about one of Sony's ones coming up when they probably do a second event. But Nintendo, it's like, what do you have? If it's not Breath of the Wild, what could it be? Yeah.
No. Keep talking. I need water, and and I'm just gonna mute myself, but I can hear you.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I have no clue. I have a list of games.
Well, what do you want to see? Yeah, what do you want to see happen then?
There are some just nostalgic games that probably are terrible, but it's funny that the first thing I thought about when I heard that was like the Walt Disney World Magical Racing Tour game. It came out for like the Game Boy and the Dreamcast and the PlayStation. I had it for the Game Boy and the PlayStation. It's pretty bad, but I had fun with it. So it's a racing game, and you're racing through like the attractions at Disney World. So like Big Thunder Mountain and Haunted Mansion, and you're like Chip and Dale, Jiminy Cricket is there, and then a couple others. It's just the mood of like driving a race car in like Haunted Mansion, trying to find pieces because Chip and Dale like broke all the attractions or something.
Of course.
That type of stuff would be perfect for the Switch. Just a cute little racing game with some Disney characters like Wise and stuff like that. Also, like I knew there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, right?
There have been several. What platform?
For Switch. For Switch.
Was it?
I think.
I forget.
Well, I like Follow the Foot Clan, and that's just because. I grew up with it.
That was the Game Boy one, right?
That music is lit. Holy crap! That soundtrack is still like one of my favorites. It's a side scroller. It's nothing big, but it would be a nice, fun little, retro thing to have. I think of big games. The first one, I like a lot of open world stuff. So GTA I mentioned. Something like Far Cry 3 would be great. That's my favorite Far Cry. I think that would be really fun. Or like Batman Arkham City, maybe. Wasn't that on the Wii U?
Yeah,
like something like that.
Wii U had those games. I think the problem was there were a lot of problems with Wii U, but with Switch, it is a different story. As we are seeing games, back catalog style games, getting put on Switch. but besides it just being a wildly more successful platform than the Wii U, I think publishers are being a little bit better with their selection of games. It's like, this is the perfect game for this time. Like Capcom has been doing a pretty good job of this, of putting out, here's the whole Resident Evil catalog right now, and it's like right ahead of like a new Resident Evil game coming out, so that's a really good time for it. Or, you know, different publisher putting out their whatever catalog of games. I do think there's still going to be for quite a while, even going into early part of the next generation, there'll still be demand on Switch to the Borderlands collection, I think was the one I was thinking about for coming to Switch. There is going to be a demand for games from last gen to this gen, finally, especially this gen style games, maybe finally making their appearance on Switch at some point, because the portable nature of it. I think there's just a lot of people who will be willing to play games on Switch as long as it runs pretty well. I think there's certain games that'll be beyond the reach of the Switch, no matter what, with its current iterations. But there's definitely still a good amount of games out there. It's just, and I understand these are games that will do well and you'd like to see. My question will always be, what is like, how long can you rely on this? Can they go on this strategy forever if they don't have a lot of new games coming out? And like, where A and B, where are the new games? Like, where are these games that are in development? Because, sorry to wrap this point up, they did say that while the pandemic is a serious issue for them, they had to find a way to establish good working conditions and a new working pipeline. They actually have said that none of their projects are actually technically delayed by it yet. I mean, they haven't announced a lot of new projects, if any.
So it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter, but at the same time, people are going to start saying, so where are these new projects that you were alluding to? Can we hear about them? You know, that's the question.
Well, then let's take all the clues that like we've had this whole time, right? That you've been talking about. They're questioning whether direct works or not. So they're in like talks of that. You have all the other places, like they're basically watching all the other major competitors give out what they're doing so that they can change their languaging depending on how they want to. And you're right too. I think like having to delay like serious things that they were looking forward to, like Mario Land and stuff, or Nintendo Land or whatever, plays a factor. They probably are just making an insane package and just aren't ready to deliver it.
I hope so.
I hope it's for the Mario thing. I hope it's a collection. I hope it's this fantastic collection that all come. I mean, it'd be nice if it came out all at once. They could be piecemeal. Nintendo's more known for not doing collections and putting everything separate. But I mean, if they go like back to back to back, I mean that's just as exciting to me as well. I hope they have that announcement coming. But as you said, I think what you're getting, I think that can be taken from your point, Jess, about the Nintendo Directs. I think they are, for the immediate future, definitely going in favor of doing individual solid announcements instead of like, here's a direct with a series of announcements about a bunch of games. Today, we're just going to be talking about this game or this collection, like the Mario collection. I think that's the most realistic thing to expect next from them.
I see. So yeah, we're not gonna we're not gonna get an hour-long trailer on Twitch. We're gonna get, and that's a smart way to stay in the news too. If that's what they're really preparing for, which again, so much of this is speculation. I really didn't realize how opaque they were, but it makes so much sense, you know.
Like, I mean, I wonder too if like, sorry to interrupt you, but like,
no, good.
So many like people hate game delays, and so when games are, you know, this is our release date, and whenever they get pushed back, you know, companies get yelled at. I wonder if it's a strategy from Nintendo to be like, we're not going to give a release date, so we don't have to get all the feedback of like, oh, we pushed it back.
No bad press.
I think you're definitely right on that, Sophia, especially right now. Paper Mario, the new Paper Mario was announced like, what was it?
A month ago?
Like maybe just slightly over a month ago. That's one of the shortest lead times for like one of their AAA games in a long time. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say like even a Breath of the Wild sequel. There's only like a month or two lead time between their next update to it. It's like, hey, it's coming out in like a month or two.
Because you know what?
Because they know it's ready.
It doesn't matter. We're just going to buy it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter whether we have 12 months to buy it or if it's Christmas. Like, this is where everything is this right now. Everything is median. So they could drop it at night and not say anything, and then it'll have 60 million sales. It just will.
The thing I was going to say earlier too is to give it a little bit of insight, not to be that how they're entirely opaque, but a little bit of transparency. Is we did get to see behind the veil today. They did a Treehouse Live.
Right,
This is
right,
something they
right.
typically do at E3 to give extended looks at the games that they just announced, and this was for Paper Mario: The Origami King. They did it remotely, so they are not working in their office yet again. So some other publishers we've seen, they'll send a small crew to the office to shoot some of this stuff. They were not doing this at Nintendo, and they were working within the limitations of the technology that people had at their places of residence. There was like some crosstalk issues. There was some like, oh, the timing wasn't right because they're probably watching it on a bit of a delay. They did at the top. They said, "Hey, please excuse us because this is the first time we're trying this."
Wow.
And I think there's still an adjustment period for this, and they're still in that. I think today highlighted why we probably haven't gotten a direct and why direct might be a little bit difficult for them in the current situation. It gave a face to the problem. It made it a little bit more tangible, I think. And I think today showed that maybe people should maybe back off a little bit on being so harsh on Nintendo for like delivering like the older style of things, and accept that like the shadow drops. I mean, I still don't like the shadow drops, but these more focused things like these singular trailers coming out instead of a broad presentation is probably all they can really manage right now without like radically delaying things or severely compromising quality of something.
I think about it where it's really easy. I think it's really important that you're saying that because this is your job, right? Is to speculate, to talk about what you love, and you do it so wonderfully. And so it's really nice also just to talk with like two fellow, Nintendo lovers. But I forget that the problems I have humaning is the same problems other humans have. Like the motivation to get up, the motivation to take your trash outside, the motivation to wash your hair. Everyone is dealing with quarantine in a different way, and you want someone to give you that space to grow and like take the time you need, and the same is going to be true for businesses that we love.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think that I'm not expecting. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'm happy with Animal Crossing. So I don't need any game. I mean, a lot of other people. I know. I'm like, oh my god, there's so much stress. No, but so for me, it's like not just that, but I've had my rough days at work, just complete burnout, and so I can't imagine how a lot of other people feel, especially in the gaming industry, where people get angry if you're a day delayed.
And we're talking.
Oh my god,
we don't need to talk about it, but we're talking about toxic fan base,
and just every worker being overworked and crunch, and I would rather like have a game be 5 months late than know that I'm playing a game where someone had to sit in their office for 12 plus hours a day to make this happen.
And I'm with you, Damiani. I would be experiencing more anxiety if I knew that Breath of the Wild was supposed to be out by September, but they pushed it 5 months. Like, I'd be like, fuck that.
Oh yeah, that was on the table. Yeah. So tell me what you think about this. One way to maybe help with messaging from Nintendo's perspective, that an idea I can come up with here is, obviously they don't want to give dates or stuff that could potentially be pushed back. I'm kind of curious about like specifically Breath of the Wild 2. Kind of surprising they haven't at least said it's not coming out this year, because that now if they don't say anything one way or the other, there's still that hope of there's still a chance it could come out. I kind of wish that they knew, if they knew definitively now, I wish they'd come out and just say, hey, Breath of the Wild is not coming out this year. We just want to let you know we can't wait to share more about this game, we just want to tell you it's not coming out this year. Just they seem to lately they're trying to be a little bit more transparent. They said like today they had a new game announcement from Way Forward. When they announced that initially that it's going to be tacked onto the Treehouse Live, that's all they said. Way Forward is announcing a brand new game after we do this Treehouse Live. Immediately, everyone thought, oh, they're working on a Nintendo IP, because why would it be in a Nintendo Treehouse? This must be like a new Metroid or something, like something like a new Wario Land. They had to immediately, within minutes, follow up and say, by the way, this is not a Nintendo IP. They're working on something that's not Nintendo, so manage your expectations. This also happened last year with the final Smash character reveal, the first pass. after 4 big third-party like home run characters that were like pie in the sky dream characters, they finished up with a Fire Emblem character, which the game notoriously has a lot of Fire Emblem representation. They got a little bit of backlash for that. So with the first character of the next season of characters, essentially, they came out in front of it and said, by the way, the first character is from ARMS. And so just keep your expectation to check that. We don't want this months of speculating who it could be because it's going to get out of control. I think I do think there's really no way to win that fight. There's always going to be people who we saw today. It happened today with this. But at the same time, I think they're starting to learn to care a little bit more and be more cognizant of what people are thinking about this. And I think there might be some things they could say that help manage expectations in some manner to the best of their ability.
The louder people are on the internet, I hate to say it, the more they'll respond. So of course that kind of backlash from a botch like that is, they're going to realize they got to get ahead of that. If you don't have enough people screaming about Breath of the Wild, there's no incentive for them to say it very much, because we're going to buy it anyway. But again, I don't love that about our culture, but our culture is an angry one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a lose-lose situation. You don't have a release date, people are going to be mad. You say it won't be released this year, people are going to be mad. It's just not a win. Like, just burn it all. That's my end game.
Yeah, you are.
And you know what?
I know. That's why I haven't played enough Animal Crossing today to like lower my rage with the world. I just need to play a couple hours. And I'm like, the world is lovely. I'm excited about life again.
But then get a Switch in this girl's hand.
Yeah,
I
feel like what you both just argued, or the point you both just made here, I think this is why Nintendo is secretive like it is. They can't, no matter, even with the idea I came up with, it's going to be flawed. The best, honestly, they probably realized a while ago, the best course of action is to stay silent.
Yeah.
We'll say things when we're ready to talk about them, because anything we do say is just going to be under like one of the like harshest microscopes for scrutiny possible. I guess it's how, lack of a better word, rabid Nintendo fans get about the company, for better or worse.
That's any fans, though. That's any gaming fans. Like, how dare you, company, not give me my game?
But it does protect the youth of Nintendo in some ways, because let's face it, it's a company that does excellent for adults and children. And by reducing the potential of vitriol, does keep it fun and easy for kids too.
Yeah.
They got a lot of factors to consider, I'm sure.
There aren't a lot of games for kids anymore, I feel like. I kept thinking about the other day, like, what games are there for kids?
We just don't know them because they're not our titles.
I mean,
although speaking of that too, it's like the world has forgotten about Banjo-Kazooie. And
what? No, we haven't. What?
Why isn't there a new title? Everyone's like, Crash
that's
Bandicoot.
Not the world. That's Rare, Microsoft. That's some behind the scenes. Banjo did come to Smash. They did make that happen. They gave us hope. Banjo came to Smash Brothers. Banjo-Kazooie was revealed for Smash Brothers. The rumor for a long time, a lot of like speculation. It happened. Maybe anything's possible. But as you said, in terms of like a new game in the series, that has been like, we talked about what we want on the Easy Allies podcast in the past. We talked about what we want to see from the Microsoft event coming up. Like, someone asked us a question, love, respect. What would make you give it an A in your mind, especially after the Sony press conference? You were so high on riding high on that after the PS5 event. What would make you feel so good about Microsoft event? I was like listing stuff, and at the end I said, also on top of all this crazy stuff, new Banjo-Kazooie platformer. I was like, where is it? I want this. It's like, I absolutely do want an excellent Banjo-Kazooie platformer. It's going to come out on a Microsoft system.
It's not a Nintendo title.
Oh, because Rare, the company that developed it, got bought by Microsoft. Remember that? They got bought back at the end of the GameCube era after Star Fox Adventures. So now with Microsoft, despite there being there were Banjo properties that appeared on Nintendo platforms after the fact, but that was courtesy of being licensed over to Nintendo for their use. Yeah. Same thing with like Perfect Dark, that old first-person shooter game. Like a lot of Rare's games that have a lot of following, but like Banjo-Kazooie especially is one that gets spoken about in such high regard, and rightly so.
I can't believe, because of how excellent even just the first one was, storytelling wise, world wise. The fact that there hasn't been one again is crazy. There's Banjo-Kazooie 2, which I don't think I ever played.
Well, Banjo-Tooie,
Banjo-Tooie.
it gets better after you get over the initial hurdle. Like it goes a little too far. Like the opening of the game's kind of rough. It turns off a lot of people. And then they made Nuts and Bolts for Xbox 360. That weird build. It was like not a platformer. It had nothing. It was just a totally different type of game. And while some people loved it for what it was not a platformer. And I think people wanted that. And if you are, just for your information, Jess, if you are curious in checking out a Banjo-Kazooie-like 3D platformer that came out recently, some of the core members that worked at Rare at the time for Banjo-Kazooie went on to make a studio called Playtonic, and they made a game called Yooka-Laylee that came out a few years ago that is a 3D platformer that's supposed to be a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. If you want to check that out.
I definitely will, because I just want to play Banjo-Kazooie, so that's like a title I want them to like. I want to play the old one, so like bring that title back, even if it's just refurbished. But I'm with you. I'll check that out. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, bringing back classic games is definitely a thing for those. I mean, there's obviously wrap up this what we might want to see, what they should see. Besides Breath of the Wild sequel, I'll acknowledge, like, they've announced Metroid Prime 4. We know Retro Studios is back working on it. We've seen jack shit about it. You're not seeing anything about it this year. Like, it's like probably the least likely game to showcase anytime soon. But I mean, that is somewhere. There's a game announced called Bayonetta 3 that is highly anticipated from Platinum Games. We only saw a teaser at the Game Awards forever ago. We have not seen that game since as well. So we know a few games that are officially announced that I think people are expecting, but they're probably unlikely for this year. We have to imagine whatever they're working on is just an unknown at this point. And I think unknowns are pretty exciting too. It's like, what can Nintendo surprise us with? What is this game that they know everyone's going to want to play this holiday, and we just haven't figured it out? Like, I'm excited to see what that is. But I do hope there is something, even if it's a collection, a retro collection, just like something to put out in the last half of this year besides Paper Mario.
We got Donkey Kong coming out now. Pretty soon.
Oh, for the Super Nintendo, yeah, they found that thing they forget about every few months and then randomly add a game to. That's a pretty good game to add to that collection.
That's a very good. That's like,
it's an excellent game.
Keeps my attention. Yeah, that's the one where I was.
That's like, something they've also fallen behind on. They haven't really been adding games to that. Even if they don't, that's a service that if you are a Nintendo Online subscriber, you just get immediate access to that. So you're already paying a monthly fee. Even if they don't see the value in that, I'm surprised they just don't add more games to their eShop to buy piecemeal. So many games that could be on there. We're seeing other publishers do it, but Nintendo.
But Nintendo did it for the Wii, the initial Wii. Like, they have the capability of doing it. And so this is kind of ties back to your idea about Disney. They're just like vaulting it. Like, you know what? We have all of these digitally already. We're just not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It's just with Microsoft and Sony finally being so vocal, with news ramping up about what they're doing, you'd think that Nintendo would finally feel, even if they don't view them as their competition, as they love to say, you'd think logically they need to have something prepared probably for this holiday that they got to get ready to talk about sometime, right? Like, you're just gonna let Microsoft, Sony just run away with the conversation for the rest of the year? I mean, yes, Animal Crossing sold a lot, and as you said, Sophia, there are people like you would be very content just playing Animal Crossing the rest of the year. And Switch is doing phenomenally; like, they're doing well sales wise. But at the same time, can they really just rest on that for the remainder of the year? I think there's going to be a point where they're going to see a diminishing return if that really is their strategy.
I think you're going to see a major announcement probably around August, or when like this weather changes, like, because people it's just, we're so stuck right now that I think they're banking on a lot of us not feeling like anything is happening. And I was wearing a jacket last time I went outside, and now I would need to wear a bathing suit. So I'm sure I think you'll see around August or September as like TV shows start to pick back up, and there'll probably be something around then. We'll know more.
I hope.
That's my guess.
I wouldn't be surprised. I personally believe within the next 30 to 60 days they'll have something. There'll be something from them.
They have to. I think you brought up you made a really good argument that even though they're gonna always do well, they have to at this point.
I think they're just, personally, if I was forced to give a best guess, Paper Mario's coming out next week. I think just letting Paper Mario have its time. Like anything else they announce would
Interesting.
detract from that game right now.
Yes.
And with the current situation, there's no incentive to announce something right now. Just wait. Like, what's the difference between announcing something today or waiting 2 more weeks after Paper Mario's had its moment in the limelight? And then they're like, okay, everyone's played it. It's been out for a week. Now let's get you excited about the next thing. Like maybe this is their new strategy, is that they double down on a single game for a few months. And then once it's had its moment, they move on to the next project. Maybe that could be their new strategy.
It
that they were
worked, it
alluding
worked
to.
so well for Animal Crossing, right? And
Yeah.
And let's even go back further to the beginning of the thing we were talking about. By putting the updates slowly, they're keeping us coming back. So they keep us hooked to their Switch. As long as we got the Switch in hand, we're going to get the next game. And so I think you're right. That's a really insightful thought.
Yeah, I hope so. And this, except for the exception of last E3, the past few E3s, Nintendo have been mostly a singular focus on a certain game. We had Super Mario Odyssey, we had Breath of the Wild that they focused on. Last year, it was like 3 different games that they mostly focused on: Pokemon Luigi's Mansion, and it was mostly those 2, and then a bevy of other games. But they do seem to like to champion. I think even in the old format, they were gravitating towards let's do a specialize in a certain game first,
which will be
and
a
give it all the
challenge to
coverage.
them if both Zelda and Mario are turning 35 next year.
Well, Mario's this year actually,
This
so
year?
that's that's why people think the collection's coming out this
I see.
holiday, is because it's at the very end of it. There's been like no rumors about an actual Zelda 35th anniversary. It's just wishful thinking at this part.
Got
I mean,
it.
35th anniversary is happening, but what they're doing for it, if anything, is the wishful thinking part.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just hope. Give me all the games for Christmas, which seems like I'll be celebrating alone.
With the Switch.
Man.
It just gives you a pop on Christmas Day or holiday day for whatever you celebrate. It just pops up with the holiday message on that day. Like this does a stealth update. It's just like a special holiday theme boot up just for you, just to make everyone smile a little bit. If we're,
you can celebrate your birthday in Animal Crossing, which seems very lovely.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. Mine's in December, so I'm gonna have to sit it out. Wait a minute. But it looks very cozy.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Well, we're a little bit over the 2-hour mark, which is on the long end for an episode of Friend Code. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up there for this week's episode. First of all, I want to thank our $5 and up patrons who submitted questions for this week's episode of Friend Code. If you are a $5 and up patron, you can submit questions for consideration for each episode of Friend Code. The week we were recording, I will make a post calling for your submissions. So thank you to everyone who submitted for that. Also, generally, $5 and up tier, as part of the early access tier, you get episodes of many of our shows and podcasts, including this one, usually early. We're recording a little bit later this week, so you're going to get it. There will be no early access for this episode, so I do apologize for that. But generally, we do have that. Episodes usually go up a day or two before. They go up on Friday for the public, so thank you, everyone who supports the show, either as being part of the early access tier or whether you watch it publicly on YouTube when it goes up. I need to look up our shout outs for this month real quick. While I'm waiting for that, I want to give both of you an opportunity to maybe talk about anything that you'd like to talk about in terms of like anything you've been working on or any projects like that, or anything you'd like to call attention to before we wrap up here.
You first, Sophia.
Follow me on Twitter at It's Sophia H. Not a lot of stuff going on here. I'm working on an Animal Crossing thing.
You can have people come to your island.
Not yet.
Will you have another update on your island?
Probably.
Like where people will come and check it out?
It just needs to get done.
I
guess stay tuned. It looks a lot better than, oh my God, no.
I loved what you did though.
Thank you, but no.
Okay.
Oh no, it's way better.
You're telling everyone.
That's a trash island.
Trash island.
That island was garbage.
Wow.
Yeah, just burn it. No, I'm just kidding. I was proud of that, but it's a lot of change. So
much time, right?
Yeah, 500 hours, baby. But yeah, that's the projects I have.
I am a streamer now. I
You are.
stream
Ah.
on Jessica Nerdy is my channel. And I'm also streaming with Ripley Improv, which Amanda's part of. So there's different things any given day. We're reading Dune. We're in the second book of Dune. I'm also doing Minecraft crap. And then Ripley will be announcing in 1 month's time a new genre that will be performed on Twitch. That is very exciting. So I will titillate you. But if you guys want to hang out with me, follow me on my Twitter and ask me for a Discord, and we can chat and be, friend code friends.
I want your Discord.
Yeah. It's super fun.
I'm excited.
Very video game style of you, Jess, to do an announcement of an announcement. That
Oh, it's so true.
It's better.
now-
It's better than not.
but it's a good tease.
was like
that's a better tease than what they usually do.
I like what they did this morning with Far Cry, where it's like it got leaked.
Oh
I did
yeah.
a teaser of a teaser, and yo, am I excited! Oh, that's why I hoped that they would be like the backlog for Switch. Let's go.
At least you didn't do a countdown to the announcement of an announcement.
Oh,
Those
God,
are
I
the
hate
worst,
those.
and
Those are
I don't like
terrible.
those. I have our list of our shout outs for the month of July for Easy Allies. These are $250 and up patrons who support us. And for this month, we have let me expand this because it cut off the name. I apologize. So I'm going to give shout outs to Delissi.
Delissi.
Yeah. Elthanis.
Elthanis.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Caleb Crawford.
Caleb Crawford.
And Greg the Dark Knight Kettering. Thank you to all of you. Shout out.
Shout out. Thank you.
Yeah.
That last one was a really long one.
Yeah. Well, they don't have their nicknames on here, but they've been so long. So actually Caleb's nickname is Togi. Caleb Togi Crawford. Greg the Dark Knight Kettering. They've just been around forever. So is our it's actually Jesse Blue who gives our who uses their space to call attention to Black Lives Matter. So very noble of them to do that.
Love
And
Jesse
so-
Blue.
Yeah. So thank you to our 5 patron or shout out tier patrons. If you didn't catch the announcement in the Easy Allies podcast, I believe we actually expanded it. We upped the amount of slots because they've always been full. It's like no one's been able to get in for a while. I think this is the first time we even had one person switch in a long time. We decided to up it up to give more people a chance to do that. So you can check that out if you want as well. And I want to thank both of you. Usually I thank you after the giving where people can check you out. But thank you both of you for joining me for 2 hours of discussion. Normally I keep friend code to like about 75 to 90 minutes. But the last 2 of just like I felt like there's a lot to be said. And
We don't talk to people. We
Yeah.
don't talk. This is the first time I'm talking to people in so long.
Yeah,
But also,
I don't
it's
have
so
a
nice to
problem
get
with it
to-
going long.
See your brain on Nintendo too, because you have such a thoughtful approach to this and a love for it. So it's kind of fun to talk about it.
Thank you. I'm really glad. I've been doing a lot of guests lately, just because whatever. Like we get asked a lot why we don't do more guests on our shows, and this for whatever reason, everyone's just been very generous to be like, hey, we'll talk about Nintendo stuff with you. So I was like, let's just keep doing this. It's like a lot of people like this and stuff, and there have been asked for getting different opinions, different voices on here and stuff. But I mean, the same thing is like I've had Sofia on here for several times now, and it's always a blast to have Sofia on. I know we talked before, Jess. I was like, man, I just completely forgot about Jess. I'm kind of a jerk about that.
I didn't.
I was like, how long ago was that? I was like, man, but it's, part of it was a pandemic. It's like it was only a month. Oh shit, it's been like 4. I was like, yeah, that's not cool.
And I told you, I trusted it. I knew we would get there, and here we are. And it's been as glorious as I knew it would be. So
It's been awesome.
I'm always hesitant of having too many people on. Like I see some Zoom, like some podcasts have like 9 people, 8. Not, I mean, Easy Allies said a lot of people. I like actually see these live streams of these discussions have like looks like freaking Hollywood Squares style. I'm just like, how do you have that many people talking? I'd love to just get like as many people on, but I'm always afraid it would be here for 10 hours or not everyone will get it. So I like to keep it a little smaller and intimate. But it's like I'm definitely gonna try and like keep everyone coming back in terms of guests. So like I'll be better on myself to like not wait so many months to have both of you on again, and some of our more recent guests as well. definitely expect to see a lot of these faces come back, because I love talking about Nintendo. I love talking about with all this with all of you. It's really fun, and I think that's gonna do it for this episode. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining me and spending this time with me.
us.
And until next time, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.